Like I had to tell him, I was like, y'all, I need like an hour so I can get my work stuff done. And Jonathan did not understand that. I was like, get out of my office.
Is his room all set up and everything?
All right, good morning, everyone. Andrew Douglas here in the Action News 5 digital desk on this Tuesday morning. It is a Tuesday morning, and it is already heating up across Memphis and the Mid-South. Check it out right there, our High 5 camera in Midtown Memphis, 82 degrees as you get up on this Tuesday, this July 29th. Yikes, it is going to be perhaps one of the hottest days of the year. Let's check in with First Alert meteorologist Patrick Ellis on this First Alert weather day. And you can see it in the graphic there, a second coming heat wave. Good morning, Patrick.
Hey, good morning, Andrew. Yes, the heat wave has made its stride back into the Mid-South. And basically today, you know, we were talking about this last week. It seemed like today and tomorrow were probably going to be two of the hottest days so far. And that has not really changed all that much. Now, there may be a couple of changes in the forecast beyond tomorrow, getting into Thursday and into the weekend. I think the weekend, not bad, my friends, but we got to get there first. We got a long way to go, and this heat's going to make it a long way to go. Of course, when you see the purple like that, that is indicative of feels like temperatures 110 plus, and there is some even darker purple that is embedded in there that could be 115 plus. Of course, as you're stepping out the door this morning, it's 7:01, and we're talking temperatures that are in the 80s. A lot of spots here this morning. 82 in Memphis, 82 West Memphis, 80 in Blytheville, Hayti, 79 in Alamo, 76 in Bolivar, 75 Ashland, Corinth, and as well as in Oxford. Middle 90s will operate more like 110 degrees here, even in the city of Memphis. The last couple of days, you know, we've had feels like temperatures around 105 to 110 here in the city. I think that will go above and beyond that today. I think today may be the worst of the heat that we've seen even previously to the last 2 weeks. It was rough last week. It was just a long stretch. This is a big perk in the heat, and I think it's going to be pretty rough. Let's talk about the signs of heat exhaustion, okay? Headlines are coming out, and of course, one of those, unfortunately, tragically, right here in the Mid-South. Let's talk about what you need to look for in heat exhaustion, okay? You start feeling faint or dizzy. You know, I have hypoglycemia, so that means that my blood sugar is generally a little lower. So this is a good indicator of that. If you have low blood sugar, things like that, these things happen a little quicker because of the heat exhaustion. You're sweating out all of the salts, you're sweating out the sugars in your body. It's all coming out in your sweat. That is excessive. I mean, you're pouring sweat at this point. If you have cool, pale, clammy skin, you can feel it on your body. It feels like you got kind of a chill all of a sudden, even though it's 100 and something degrees outside. That is another indicator that you're going into heat exhaustion. A rapid yet weak pulse. Muscle cramps will also start to occur, and then the potential for nausea and vomiting. All those things are the things of heat exhaustion. Now, heat stroke, when you stop sweating, that is the problem, okay? When you get to the point to where your body does not have enough moisture to exert out, that's when you have a problem. You need to call 911 immediately. Same, your skin turns very red and dry. You have a very strong rapid pulse and a biting headache that goes along with it. All of that is sign of heat stroke, and you've got to call 911 immediately. In this situation, at least get to a cool spot, get them into a cool spot immediately, and of course, take those necessary precautions. Of course, the heat is going to be on here today, upper 90s. Feeling closer to 110 plus degrees here this afternoon. Could there be a cooling downpour? It's a possibility, but don't bank on a lot. I think we'll have a few showers and storms across eastern Arkansas, a few showers and storms across northern Mississippi here today, but those chances, again, in most spots will likely stay dry. A couple clouds to start off the day tomorrow. middle 90s during the course of the afternoon. A few more spotty downpours possible through the course of the afternoon and early evening. As a boundary gets a little bit closer to us as we head into your Thursdays, that may kick off a few more showers and storms for Thursday afternoon as we go into that time frame, as that backdoor front starts to slip into the area. So that'll kick off the scattered downpours. I don't think it's a washout by any stretch. I think we may get off the day without much fanfare, at least early on. The latter half of the day, more scattered activity. A few more showers and storms still lingering on Friday, but that front swings southward and it will clear the board at least. And when we look at our first alert futurecast, again, you see that ridge building off towards the west. This is Wednesday evening, and again, the front basically on our back doorstep. That will help to kick off the scattered showers and storms on Thursday afternoon as the front sinks farther down to the south. Drier air is trying to punch in behind it, and all the while that will help to bring us back to reality and actually maybe just bring us to almost fantasy land at that point, because the humidity levels will start to come down as we head through the weekend to a point to where it feels not bad. So the final weekend of summer for a lot of students here across the Mid-South, of course, MSCS getting back into session next Monday. That's not bad. You might be able to get out and go to Tom Lee, go to Shelby Farms, Shelby Forest, get out, go to the zoo. Enjoy the last weekend outdoors, okay? Because, of course, the steam will eventually start heading back in our way as we head through the latter portion of that forecast. Here's the 7-day forecast, and again, we'll go 98 for today, 96 tomorrow. Now, at 96, when you wake up tomorrow morning, these are the temperatures when you wake up tomorrow morning. We're talking 75 in Bolivar, 75 Covington, 80 here Memphis, 77 in West Memphis, as well as Tunica, and 78 in Helena, West Helena. Of course, very humid air is going to be in place. Notice, again, we get a better chance for some rain and storms coming here on Thursday. That will be that front slipping into the area. Clouds will start to increase on Friday on the back side of that. 87 the high there, 87 also on Saturday. And of course, the humidity levels coming down. Though we'll get up to 89, which is below average for this time of the year. When you wake up early on Sunday morning, 60s for low. So that gives you indication that the humidity levels come down in a great deal here as we head towards the end of the week and into the start of next week. 91 for the first day of school for MSCS. Of course, a lot of school districts getting back here the next couple of days. We've got Alcorn County going back on Wednesday, Alcorn and North Tippah. And then Thursday, DeSoto County goes back, Lafayette County goes back, as well as Marshall County. City of Oxford schools, they go back next week, but Lafayette County schools will go back on Thursday. But again, quite the hot day on those buses here across the Mid-South. Of course, the chances for rain and storms coming along with it as well as that front works its way into the area. But again, that final weekend for a lot of students, and of course, with the MSCS district going back early next week, it looks to be pretty quiet.
I know it's about a week or so away, maybe a little bit more than that, Patrick. What's the golf tournament weather looking like? Any idea?
Disgustingly hot like it was last year. I mean, it's looking pretty hot. I'll have a look at that 10-day forecast coming up here during the 8 o'clock hour. But I tell you, it's looking more and more likely that we're going to have the heat really start to build once again. So giving some indication already, again, as disgustingly hot as it was last year at the FedEx St. Jude Championship. But, you know, we'll see how it plays out right now. We're looking at highs at least in the mid-90s.
Okay. All right. Good enough. There it is. Meteorologist Patrick Ellis giving us the first look at the extended forecast here on the digital desk. Patrick, thank you.
No problem.
And another live look from our High Five cameras. You can see here in Midtown Memphis, 82 degrees, 708. There's a live look downtown Memphis off there in the distance. It's actually a really nice picture out there. In fact, all the pictures have been great. The problem is there's so much humidity combined with the heat, making triple-digit heat a real issue, especially if you are outside for prolonged hours. We're going to be talking about that throughout the morning here on Action News 5's digital desk, so stay tuned for that. But I want to get to one of our top stories right now, and it has to deal with the start of school coming up. And in the state of Tennessee, if your child goes to school, there is a new cell phone policy, and it basically is up to the school district to determine the finer details of that cell phone policy. We have Action News 5's Stephanie Douglas to give us Details on
Well,
that.
the new cell phone policy, which passed during this past legislative session, will change things in all Tennessee classrooms. The goal is to improve a student's focus. Now, all school districts must adopt policies to ban students from using cell phones, tablets, smartwatches, or any other wireless communication devices during class time. Most districts already have some form of a policy in place in their student handbooks. These policies, while district specific, that could include limiting when cell phones can be used, specific storage during class time, and or etc. The Tennessee cell phone law also requires schools to have a plan in place to let parents know about any school emergencies. For example, Collierville school policies recently updated in June allows for device use when allowed by a teacher or to manage student health. Their policy also varies by grade level. While elementary school students have to put theirs up for the day, middle and high school students can use theirs during lunch or classroom change. Later today, Memphis-Shelby County school leaders will meet to hash out their policy ahead of the first day on Monday. Their policy will lay out specific rules and consequences for violations. Now, to see what specific policies are in place, you can visit your school district's website. Reporting this morning, I'm Stephanie Douglas, Action News 5.
Okay, that was one of the top stories that we were following here this morning on the Action News 5 digital desk. We got several interviews approaching for you. One of the biggest ones is the FedEx St. Jude Championship. Are you a fan of golf? Maybe you're like me where you're just a casual fan. Well, even the casual fan, we are talking about the top 70 golfers in the world coming to Memphis at TPC Southwind. It is going to be a fantastic event like it is each and every year. So on the Action News 5 digital desk at 9 o'clock, I'm going to be talking with the director of the FedEx St. Jude Championship, Joe Tomek. He's going to talk about what to expect this year, the players, the fan experience, what's new, tickets, you name it. And again, the golf tournament begins next week, Wednesday, Thursday. And we're talking to him at 9 o'clock this morning. Also, we're going to be talking and checking in with our friends at Memphis Botanic Garden. We kind of do that once a week, every other week, that sort of thing. They have events throughout the year at the beautiful 96 acres that are curated, just gorgeous, right in the heart of the city. 96 acres at Memphis Botanic Garden. And they have a back-to-school bash coming up. We're going to be talking with them. With these interviews and plenty more on Action News 5's digital desk this morning. Right now, I want to go to a live picture, as you can see here. Downtown Memphis there, off in the distance, the skyline, the I-40 bridge, the Mississippi River. 82 degrees at 7:12. Let's take a short 1-minute break, and we're back with more on Action News 5's digital desk. Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 digital desk. We are in some of the hottest days of the summer, certainly the dog days of summer, where temperatures are in the triple digits when you combine the heat and humidity. And just because they are here, just because summer is heating up, doesn't mean that you have to pause your workout routine if you like to be outside and work out. There's so many Mid-Southerners that do that. So joining me on the Action News 5 digital desk, I have the pleasure of introducing Mariah Lamatina, a fitness trainer at Lifetime Fitness in Collierville, to talk about what we can do to still get that exercise bump and yet withstand some of these hot and humid conditions. Mariah, good morning. Where do we start when it comes to having that perfect exercise routine while staying safe in these dangerously hot conditions? Good morning.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and share. I am actually experiencing my first true Memphis summer here. So I am applying all the stuff that I know and that I'm learning from everyone around here at Lifetime to make sure that I stay safe in this ridiculously hot heat here. I don't know if you guys have noticed where you live. It's really hot.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, all you got to do is go outside and you immediately get smacked in the face with it. And you know, I mean, the best idea would be to just do a workout inside. But I know that there's a lot of people, you know, my wife included, who just enjoys going outside and working out outdoors, either running or jogging, that sort of thing. So what would be your advice if someone wants to do that, even though we have these hot temperatures?
You're exactly right. I mean, my first choice, if I could choose, would be to come into your nearest Lifetime and take advantage of all of our amenities here. You can drop the kids off in the Kids Academy. You can do an indoor class workout with one of our awesome performers or hang out on the strength floor. And then, you know, once your workout's done, maybe you're finding that indoor pickleball court or taking the kids out to the pool and playing in the fun sun out there. That would be my top choice if it were me in the next little bit of time this year. But if you can't do that, or if you want to, I am a cyclist, so obviously that takes me out on the road. There are a lot of tips that you can do to make sure that you stay safe and enjoy your workouts, even when you have to be outside. So first of all, I would say hydration starts long before your actual workout. So you want to make sure that you stay hydrated. You can lose 1 to 2 ounces of fluid in intense workouts. So you want to make sure that you are building that fluid up in your body before, during, and after your workouts to make sure that you stay safe. The water that you lose is not just water. So when you sweat, it is losing minerals and electrolytes as well. So I pulled out some of our awesome Lifetime nutrition supplements that we have here. Our LTH Hydrate is my go-to. I have all my clients drinking this. This is my spicy margarita flavor, which is my favorite right now. But that is going to replenish some of the sodium, potassium, magnesium, things like that you are also losing in your sweat.
Great advice there. I love it, Mariah. I mean, and you're right. I mean, it's so important to maintain that hydration way before you go out and exercise. And I know a lot of people try to beat the heat, as many people say, by working out either in the early morning or late in the evening. Would you recommend that?
Yes. I think early morning, get it done before the sun is just beating down on you. It's going to be a great way to start your day and your routine anyway, before work and kids and things get busy. Life happens and we find reasons to not get it in anyway. So get up, get it in early. That's going to be the coolest time of the morning. I've been walking at night as well, but it's not cool until I don't even know if it gets cool, if I would consider it 8 or 9 p.m. cool anymore, but that will be your safest times of the day if you can plan for that.
You know, I know a lot of times we want to wear, skin protection, SPF, 30 or higher. But, a lot of times I hear the complaints that if you wear a lot of, sunscreen out there, it just makes you sweat even more. And then you can't reapply while you're working out and it's a big pain. I mean, where do you stand on that?
I am all about sun protection. You can see this blonde, fair skin here needs it. So I recommend doing it, even if it's not the most comfortable thing for you, making sure it's a high quality sunscreen with, like you said, 30 to 50 or more would be great in the SPF range. And then also you can wear light clothing. Sweat wicking fabric is great because it's going to keep you drier, and light clothing, right? Because you're going to bake if you just try to wear that really dark clothing in the bright sun.
Yeah, good point there. Where do people, do you think, Mariah, make the biggest mistakes when it comes to exercising outdoors?
Probably focusing on the intensity of the workout and not listening to your body. So that is the most important topic that I can address today. You want to always listen to those warning signs. Your body is trying to tell you how it's feeling. And if you're just deciding to push through for the sake of one workout, that's not going to help you in the long run. We're working out for health. We're working out for longevity. We're not just trying to check off this one intense workout. So make sure that you know the signs that your body is telling you if you're starting to feel a headache or you're starting to get cramps. You know that that dehydration is probably there and you're going to need some electrolytes and some water to hydrate. If you start getting past that point, heat exhaustion is real and you can start feeling more symptoms, more intense symptoms where you're feeling dizzy or you're even sweating more profusely than you were before. And then that can even go into heat stroke, which is an incredibly dangerous medical condition where you actually stop sweating. Your body needs to sweat. It needs to be hydrated enough to sweat to cool your body down. But once it gets to that point of not being able to cool you down enough, it's going to stop and you're going to have some serious problems. So just listen to those really early signs, hydrate well before, during, and after. Make sure you never even get to those points.
Good advice, Mariah. Anything else before we let you go with regards to hydrating, water, electrolytes, anything?
I think those are the big things. Just be careful, listen to your body. One workout is not worth, destroying everything that you've been working for and getting sick. So just making sure that you're replacing those electrolytes. Water, the recommended dosage is usually half of your body weight in ounces for a general rule of thumb, which is great. So if you were 160 pounds, you would want to drink about 80 ounces of water a day. But when you are out in the heat, that is just not going to be enough. So you want to make sure that you're drinking about 16 to 20 ounces of water during that workout. Make sure you're rehydrating every hour so that you really stay healthy and hydrated and safe. I don't know if we should talk about urine on the news, although I have Crohn's disease, so I usually end up talking about all kinds of things on my conversations with my clients. But if you check your urine color, that is going to tell you a lot. Your body is trying to tell you. So if it's light and pale, you are doing good, you're drinking well. But if it starts to get into that darker amber color, you really want to be careful and make sure you're getting those fluids in. Oops, I'm sorry, I lost.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry, I lost audio there for it. Now I can hear you.
No, what I was saying is the color of the urine is very important. Again, that's one of your your body is telling you, hey, look, you got a problem, or you're in the clear. When you talk about spicy margaritas to hydrate, maybe people get the wrong impression. But no, we're talking about the actual right. We're talking about electrolytes and the mix there. So no, totally get it. Really appreciate this, Mariah. Thank you for joining us on the Digital Desk, just to kind of give everybody friendly reminders out there, refresher on how to stay safe in this heat if you do want to exercise outside. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. And if you can move it inside over the next couple weeks, I would prefer to do that for the most part. We have a Lifetime app that actually is free for members and non-members, and that you can download and get all kinds of free classes and content. That's also where you can find our supplements, and you don't have to be a member to take advantage of those supplements either. So just drop in the app and maybe find a workout that you can do in your home and stay out of that heat when it is those crazy heat advisories here.
No question about it, Mariah Lamatina joining us on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. It is time to talk with our good friend on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. We're talking about Shelby Smith. She's with Overton Park Shell. She joins us this morning right now to talk about the concert series that's coming up in the fall. It actually begins this summer, the end of next month, and it's going to be a fantastic series with all kinds of different music. And there's just everything, it seems like, year-round, Shelby. You guys are always doing things, being active in the community, not only at the Overton Park stage Shell there, but also Mobile Shell and Shell on Wheels. What's happening? How are you?
I'm great. So thankful to be here with you every Monday. It's like one of the highlights of my week to join you guys and share the good news about what we're doing here at the Overton Park Shell. But like you said, the Orion Financial Free Concert Series, it kicks back up on August 23rd, and that's going to give you 2 whole months of free music opportunities to experience in the city of Memphis. You already mentioned we've got a little bit of something for everybody. We're bringing out hip hop, some jazz artists, some country artists, local and national acts. We're actually doing like a DJ showcase for this series and a kind of live theater production as well in partnership with a couple different organizations. So truly just a strong showcase of artistic talent that we are so thankful that we get to bring to people, not only in the summer, but continuing throughout the fall. So we're just super excited to bring people back to the lawn. We're less than a month away, which is kind of crazy. It seems like we just took a break, but we're super stoked to bring people back to experience some free music.
I know, and I don't know if people realize it. I saw something where someone outside of Memphis sent me something that said there's not many things to do in Memphis, and I'm like, are you kidding? There are so many things to do. All you got to do is just look around. It's very easy to find all kinds of stuff for all kinds of different tastes. And when it comes to live music, for free, and a great setting where you can, be outside, enjoy outside, you drink, food, what have you, and the vibe out there, it's certainly a lot of fun. So this is 2 months that begin next month with the Stax Music Academy, right?
Yes, they kick off our season on August 23rd. All of our shows in this, or I guess in the continuation of our fall series, they start a little bit earlier, so they'll start at 7. So there's plenty of time for you to get to the lawn and enjoy that free music. And like you said, plenty of music for everybody. The vibe is fantastic on this lawn. You really can't beat it. It's unlike anything else I feel like that we have in our city. And the people that say that we don't have anything to do in Memphis, you are truly not looking in the right places. Come to me. I will tell you there's so much not only to do here at our lawn, but throughout the city of Memphis with some of our music venue partners. And just our food is fantastic. We work with local food vendors, so you're never going to be hungry here. It's truly fantastic. And some of the things that we do as far as like the free concert series, they are empowered by our other shows. We have our Shell Yeah fundraising shows. We have 2 of those this season, one in September and one later in October with Big Crit and I'm spacing on his name really quick. But Kingfish. So you're getting hip hop and you're getting country, and both of those showcases really do empower our efforts to bring more free concert opportunities to the city of Memphis. So your tickets, all of those ticket sales, I know Ticketmaster can be a little bit of a pill to deal with, but just know all of those funds are going directly to bringing more opportunities to the city of Memphis via our Orion Financial Free Concert Series, not only this year, but next year, we're actually going to be celebrating 90 years of activation here at the Overton Park Shell. We've been rockin' steady since 1936, and so we're super stoked to really, bring out all the stops. Like, we're trying to really beef up our programming next year and to bring more of the community into that as we celebrate 90 years of free music, free entertainment, and just opportunity here in the city of Memphis for talented artists. So if you have been a part of that history with us, we would love to hear from you via, you can email us, you can message us on Instagram, but we're really looking to crowdsource people that have joined us on the lawn, not only via our present programming, but our past. We've been in the game since 1936. We've done shows, we've done theater experiences. So if you have any of those historical assets like concert tickets or posters or t-shirts or things like that that you would be willing to share with us so we can showcase our history through the eyes of so many different Memphians and just people at large that have come to experience the magic of this music venue, this historic music venue that has been operating since 1936. So if you have that stuff, just kind of like dust it off in your attic, bring it over to us. We'll scan it in and see how we can use it to celebrate some of those individual stories.
I love it. I love it. I love it all. Shelby Smith, one more time before we let you go, give us the website where we can find out all the information on the concert schedule and series, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. So you can find all the information of our Orion Financial Free Concert Series, all of our Shell Yale fundraising shows, and just an opportunity to connect with us at the Overton Park Shell at overtonparkshell.org. We also have an Instagram and a Facebook that you can find us at. It's just at Overton Park Shell. We're pretty easy to find, and we look forward to hearing from you and seeing you guys on the lawn this season.
And don't forget all the playlists of the bands that are coming to town. You can get them on all the different platforms, right?
Absolutely. I really hope you've been listening to and making sure
Yes.
you make note of what artists you're super excited to see. But yes, all of our artists they're all on our streaming platforms, but you can have access directly to that playlist at overtonparkshell.org/free concert series, and make sure to download that playlist, really get in touch with the artists that are coming to the lawn, save some of those people, and just be excited and be ready to broaden your horizons for what you're used to listening to as far as music and theater and other experiences. But yeah, overtonparkshell.org. You can get all of that information and stay in touch with us because we're ready for y'all to come and kick it with us.
Love it. Shelby Smith, thank you so much. Overton Park Shell, such a great gem in our community. We appreciate your time.
Appreciate you too. See ya.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. According to the American Cancer Society, Tennessee is projected to see about 6,500 new cases of lung cancer this year. And of course, we know lung cancer is very prominent all across Memphis and the Mid-South, and it is one of the leading causes of cancer-related deaths. So what can we do to protect ourselves, our family, in case this God forbid this happens to one of us? Joining me on the Action News 5 Digital Desk, I am joined by Dr. Anthony Cerici. He is SVP Clinical Biomarkers Laboratories Diagnostics at Eli Lilly and Company to talk about best methods, strategies, and ways to try and survive early cancer diagnosis. I really appreciate you joining us on the Digital Desk, Anthony. So where do we begin when it comes to surviving things like lung cancer, one of the deadliest cancers out there? Good morning.
Good morning, Andrew. Thanks for having me, especially in light of the Lung Cancer Awareness Day, which is coming up. So maybe I'll start by giving you a few statistics on lung cancer to sort of buff up some of what you started with. In the United States, next year, we expect 200,000 patients to be diagnosed with lung cancer. And actually, lung cancer, as you pointed out rightly, is the leading cause of death in cancer-related deaths in the United States. Importantly, about 80 to 85% of lung cancers are a specific subtype of lung cancer called non-small cell lung cancer, or NSCLC. And this is a diagnosis that you make under the microscope. So of non-small cell lung cancer, there's sort of a bit of a silver lining around that subtype of lung cancer, which is that it's really the poster child for precision medicine. So the type of medicine where you give a specific drug that targets the type of cancer that you have, the specific type of cancer that makes your cancer unique. And in non-small cell lung cancer, we have about 9 to 10 biomarkers that are recommended to be tested in that cancer type. So if you are a patient diagnosed with non-small cell lung cancer, there's a between 60 and 70% chance that your cancer is positive for one of these biomarkers. And why does that matter? It's because that will change the way your doctor, your physician, your healthcare provider, you and your family will make decisions around the way you treat your lung cancer, even in the first line setting. So biomarkers, huge role to play in the diagnosis and treatment of non-small cell lung cancer, but you gotta test. And that's really, really critical. It's part of my messages today.
Yeah, so I want to do a little bit of a deep dive into this, Anthony, the biomarkers here. Tell me more about why this is so important, and if someone is, I guess, just diagnosed with lung cancer, how do the biomarkers help them and help their team, their doctors, really kind of combat that cancer?
Sure. So as I mentioned, the guidelines recommend, the United States guidelines by NCCN, the National Comprehensive Cancer Network, recommend testing for between 9 and 10 biomarkers in non-small cell lung cancer. And those are generally advised to be tested at diagnosis, right? So when you get a diagnosis of lung cancer, testing is recommended by these guidelines. And as I mentioned in my first answer, it's because the decision for what treatment you're going to use, what medicine your physician will use in that first line setting, and in fact, sometimes even in early lung cancer, can be driven by which biomarkers are positive or negative in your tumor. Importantly, because there are so many biomarkers to test for, in general, we recommend, and the guidelines recommend, using a method called comprehensive genomic profiling, or CGP. That's a method for testing biomarkers where you use one piece of tissue, one tube of blood, and with that tube of blood, you get information on all the relevant biomarkers that are relevant for treatment decisions. So not only is it important to test at diagnosis, it's important to test comprehensively, which is why a CGP approach is generally advisable for patients with non-small cell lung cancer, and really ought to be something you're discussing with your doctor fairly early on.
Where do people make the most mistakes? And when I say people, I mean the whole team. I mean, you know, the diagnostics and plans, strategies going forward. Where are the biggest mistakes?
Yeah, I wouldn't call them mistakes. I would maybe call them underestimations of the operational kind of barriers, right? So I think the biggest miss that you can have early on in the diagnosis of lung cancer is not testing early enough, right? So, and not testing comprehensively enough, right? So we've been living in a world of biomarkers in non-small cell lung cancer for almost about 15 years now. So doctors are pretty savvy about, okay, there are things I have to test for on this lung cancer, but every year we're adding to that list of biomarkers. So making sure that we're testing at the right time and testing comprehensively is really, really critical. Let me go back to the testing at the right time thing. Some of these tests, they're pretty complicated. They can take a while, right? So you want to get that ball rolling. You got to get tissue from pathology if you're using a tissue-based assay. You're sending to a new laboratory that you might not be used to sending to, what you don't send your common labs to. So there's a little bit of an operational kind of nuance there. So you really want to get started on that at diagnosis so that when your patient comes back or when you go back to see your oncologist, you have all that information ready and you can actually have a fulsome conversation about what you're going to do and when. And I think all of that is really critical at that first kind of oncologist appointment.
You've mentioned a lot this morning. Where can we see kind of what you mentioned online? Is there a place?
There sure is, yeah. So I want to, before we get to that, I just want to say, we're all in this together. Patients, doctors, healthcare providers, caregivers, right? We all want the best treatment opportunities for our patients with non-small cell lung cancer. And that involves advocacy, that involves asking questions, that involves actually kind of being annoying about when you're getting tested and how you're being tested. So if you'd like to learn more about methods for testing, about precision medicine in general, about non-small cell lung cancer, check out lilly.com. There's a lot of information there for you.
All right, Dr. Anthony Cerici, we really appreciate your time here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. A lot of data, a lot of information, and thank you very much for talking to our audience about it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Andrew.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. You know, a lot of people are taking those summer vacations and those summer trips all across the country, perhaps internationally. But, you know, there's so many things and so many places to discover here in this country. And I want to be going right now to South Dakota, I think. For whatever reason, it looks amazing out there. It's a beautiful part of the country. I'm joined now by travel experts Caitlin Svendenson, Lydia Austin, live at the Custer State Park in South Dakota. Ladies, good morning to you. First off, tell me about the conditions, because here in Memphis in the Mid-South, we're dealing with triple-digit heat. What's it like over there? Good morning.
Oh my gosh, good morning. I was just listening to the forecast. You've got hot, I'm sure, very humid weather in Memphis right now. We're here in Custer State Park. I think it's got to be about 55, 60 degrees. We're in jackets. It's a beautiful day in Custer State Park. But, you know, in our summer months, it's 80s, 90s. Sometimes we'll hit 100, but we have a little bit drier heat than you do. So it's quite comfortable here in South Dakota.
It looks very comfortable, and I know that there is a huge motorcycle rally, the 85th Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, coming up in just a few weeks. You also have the 60th Buffalo Roundup. Tell me what people can do and what they can see if they make a venture, a trip up there, or perhaps what you guys have been seeing over the last, the time that you've been up there.
Absolutely. Well, as you mentioned, in just a few weeks, we're hosting the 85th annual Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. This is a legendary event. People are coming from across the world. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of bikers make their way to South Dakota. It's a week-long event full of parties, concerts, and I'm telling you what, it's the most beautiful rides in the country that you'll ever find. And then in this fall, we have the Custer State Park Buffalo Roundup, and it's the 60th anniversary of this event. And this is an event where the Wild West just truly comes alive. Bison hooves will be thundering across the open prairies just behind us here, and that really makes this beautiful fall morning come alive.
I see some activity right behind you right now. Looks like there's some horseback right right behind you, which is fascinating to me. We certainly don't see that. There it is up close. We don't see that kind of stuff here in Memphis and the Mid-South. Tell me what else. There is a 60th Buffalo Roundup. What's that all about?
Yeah, no, the 60th Buffalo Roundup is an annual event here at Custer State Park. We are South Dakota's largest and oldest park at 71,000 acres, and there's quite a bit to do. As you mentioned, we have horseback riders that people can kind of go anywhere in the park and find their adventure. But that ties in with the feel of South Dakota, that western feel. We are home to one of North America's largest bison herds, and for the health and the well-being of the animal and the park itself, we actually do round them up each year to go through vet visits and such. And what started as a couple hundred people coming and watching us in the early 90s through partnerships with Travel South Dakota has turned into a huge event. Last year, we had a little over 24,000 guests out here on these hills watching us round up the animal with our horses and trucks and such, and moving down to the corral system. We even added an arts festival and an event, and it's just been a lot of fun to bring that to South Dakota and make it one of our larger events out here.
I bet. And this is in addition to Mount Rushmore and some of the other things that people are very familiar with when it comes to South Dakota and the tourist destinations. What else can we talk about, ladies, before we let you go?
Absolutely. Well, we'd certainly welcome you to come up. It's truly a family destination. that is welcoming, open for everyone to come and see any season, really. Come in the spring, the summer, fall, winter. There's an adventure for anyone. From Badlands National Park, Jewel Cave National Monument, Wind Cave National Park, and our partners in the eastern side of the state. Sioux Falls is a fabulous city. DeSmet is home to Laura Ingalls Wilder and Little House on the Prairie. There's truly something for everyone in South Dakota. Just jump on up this way. We'd be happy to have you.
Okay, Lydia, Caitlin, we appreciate your time on the digital desk. Have a great time there. It looks like fantastic weather and a fantastic weekend ahead for you both. Thank you. Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 digital desk. Mental health, it remains a top concern for so many people, including post 9/11 veterans. In fact, more than 6 in 10 warriors registered with the Wounded Warrior Project report living with mental health conditions like PTSD, anxiety, or depression. But mental health isn't about veterans or a military issue. This is a human issue, and men oftentimes are less likely to receive any kind of mental health treatment than women in the past year. That's according to the National Institutes of Health. Joining me now on the Action News 5 digital desk, I have the pleasure of talking to two men here. One NFL defensive end, Morgan Fox, and his father, Joe Fox, an Army veteran and a Project Odyssey regional director for the Wounded Warrior Project. Gentlemen, good morning to you both. First off, Joe, let me start with you and tell me about the mental health challenges that veterans face when they return to civilian life. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Warriors can face a host of challenges when they return to civilian life. Something like post-traumatic stress disorder, isolation, being loss of identity, loss of purpose, anxiety, and depression are just some to name a few.
Got it. I totally get that. Morgan, over to you. First off, tell me what it was like growing up in a military family and some of the challenges that you saw from your perspective. And then, you know, you're an NFL star. You're in the NFL. I'm sure you see mental health as an issue where you are as well. Is that right?
Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, I think Warriors and football players, athletes in general, we all kind of share some commonalities when it comes to mental health. You know, growing up as a military kid, you're exposed to it a little early. You know, watching your parent come home from a year-long deployment a little different than they were when they left. And as a kid, you don't really understand it. And then the older you get, you understand that there is some trauma and some things that happened and some things that they need to go step out and get help for. You know, you do see the same thing with athletes and with, you know, football players is, you know, when things are done or even when things are going on, you have these mental crises that you kind of need to have help with, and that, you know, you've been told your whole life to be really tough and handle it yourself, and then you get to a point where you realize you do need help, and that's the hardest step you can take.
Morgan, thank you. Joe, back over to you. I know I'm very familiar with the Wounded Warrior Project. It's such an outstanding organization. Their mission statement is amazing. Tell us, for our audience, because we have thousands of people who watch us each and every morning, about how the Wounded Warrior Project helps veterans with their mental health.
Yeah, so the mission of Wounded Warrior Project is to simply honor and empower our warriors. And so this is done through a host of programs and a host of opportunities for the warriors to connect. One of these opportunities, especially in the mental health area, is Project Odyssey. And so Project Odyssey is a 12-week program that is launched by a 5-day in-person workshop that really helps improve your resiliency and psychological well-being. And it does this by allowing us to learn positive coping skills to be able to help influence those decisions and those feelings and emotions that we're dealing with when we deal with post-traumatic stress, military sexual trauma, or a traumatic brain injury.
Joe, we just want to follow up real quickly because I know that the NFL is in partnership with the Wounded Warrior Project. Tell me about this partnership and how it will work going into the upcoming football season.
Yeah, so Wounded Warrior Project is very lucky to have a partner like the NFL that has such outreach and such ability to bring attention to not only our veteran community, but to something as important as mental health. And so they do this through a host of ways, but one in particular is their Salute to Service program. That Salute to Service program allows players like Morgan to be able to extend their own personal reach, to be able to show how they can also offer some support. The support and the resources that we get from players like Morgan and from the NFL allow us to put these mental health programs on, be able to provide other programming as well that is totally free for the Warriors and the veterans and family support members that are a part of Wounded Warrior Project.
Morgan, back over to you. I understand you recently attended a Wounded Warrior Project event on mental health. What did you take away from that experience, and what can other men take away from that experience? Morgan?
Being at the Project Odyssey was incredible. I got to watch a lot of veterans who didn't know each other come from across the country really come together and learn how to cope with their whatever issues that they're going through. And the first thing I saw was that a lot of them realized that you're not alone, and that's one of the biggest things I took from it is just because you feel isolated or you feel like you're by yourself, you're really not. You're not alone. There's someone going through it the same way you are, and to be able to have that 5-10 minute conversation and learn these coping tools and learn how to dig yourself out of a hole is something that I really took from it. And then I just think at the end of the day, you know, we men will look at, you know, trying to be tough, trying to be macho, trying to be, you know, carry these loads by yourself and not burden anyone else with it. And then at the end of the day, you got to just take that really hard first step of just asking. Just go ask for help. Go find someone, go find a professional or a friend that whether you know, they can help identify the problem or just be a big listening post for you to come in and vent, and hopefully that starts a really good chain reaction, you know, to help you further in life.
Well, gentlemen, I really appreciate you joining us here on the Digital Desk. Before we let you go, if there is someone out there that's watching and perhaps they have a family member who's struggling at this time, what would you recommend they do in order to get help, you know, for specifically mental health for men?
Yeah, so the easiest way to reach out is reaching out to the Wounded Warrior Project.org on the internet. And that has all the resources to be able to connect men and women to the resources that they're looking for. And in particular, if somebody is going through crisis, a loved one, a family member, a friend, a veteran, please reach out to the crisis hotline number of 988 and allow you to talk to somebody immediately and get the care that you need.
Joe Fox and Morgan Fox, father and son, joining me on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Thank you so much for clearing this up and helping me understand and our audience understand Wounded Warrior Project and the NFL's association with the organization. Morgan, congratulations on such a great career. Good luck in the upcoming season. We appreciate you both spending a few minutes with us here on the Digital Desk. Thank you.
Thanks
for having us.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 digital desk here on a Tuesday. An extreme heat warning still in effect across the entire Action News 5 coverage area. I think that extreme heat, though, 110 plus on the feels like temperatures, likely across much of West Tennessee, eastern Arkansas, northwest Mississippi. Still a significant issue of heat stress expected across eastern West Tennessee and northeastern Mississippi. But at any rate, this heat wave, again, really surging here today. 96 and 99 on the actual air temperatures, but feels like temperatures between 108 and 115. Take those hot weather precautions as we go through the course of the day. Actual air temperature high 98 here today. Sun passing clouds, maybe a downpour in a few instances, a light north wind, and typically a north wind force would be a cooler wind. It's just not the case. It's coming on the eastern flank of this ridge of high pressure that is working its way back westward. But excessive heat expected here as we go through the course of the day. Heat stress, let's talk about this. This is taking all elements, say the sun's radiation, the temperature, the humidity, the wind, all of this. This is what we call wet bulb globe temperature. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it doesn't correlate necessarily with heat index. So let's just break it down into terms that you can understand. What is the heat stress to my body during the course of this time? 10 a.m. this morning, we're looking at high heat stress, advancing into the dangerous category. It becomes extreme. And this is at this point that all outdoor activity, whether it be, construction work, roadway work, band practice, football practice, should stop. But I understand, things can't just stop, especially in the professional world. Things can't just stop. So at this point, you've got to take those extra precautions to stay alert to the heat. And guess what? It's probably going to be like that, if not get a little worse, through the course of the late afternoon, early evening hours. By 5 o'clock, we start to come out of it. And it's going to take until 10 o'clock this evening before we start to drop back down below even the elevated category of heat stress. I mean, even early this morning, when we came in here to Action News 5 very early this morning, we saw a heat index almost 100 degrees here in the Midtown. I think that this will be a common trait even tomorrow as well. Again, you get closer to 10, 11, noontime. Dangerous to extreme heat stress yet again for your Wednesday afternoon, and we'll do the whole process over again. It takes until about 5 o'clock before we come out of that extreme heat and still high heat stress through about 9, 10 o'clock in the evening. Of course, with that being said, again, drink plenty of hydrating fluids, alternating between water as well as Gatorade or Powerade, something with some electrolytes to put some salt and sugar back in your body. The electrolytes, of course, wear light, loose-fitting clothing, take plenty of breaks in the shade or indoors, and of course, checking in on your people, just being neighborly. Sensitive groups of folks who not have adequate access to cooling relief, the elderly, children, if they're out and about running around. Again, we're almost at the end of school season or beginning of school season. Some schools still waiting to get back in. They might be out there running around just trying to enjoy the last couple of days of summer. Keep an eye on the kids if they are playing basketball, football, whatever. And of course, your pets as well. Make sure they have cold drinking water. Let's talk about the things of heat exhaustion, or the signs of heat exhaustion: feeling faint or dizzy. So when you start to feel that kind of woozy feeling, that's when you may have heat exhaustion. Another sign of that, excessive sweating. So you get to this point as you start to lose sugar, salt, as you excessively sweat during that time frame. Cool, pale, clammy skin. If you all of a sudden, it's 100 degrees outside, you start feeling chills, something's going on there. You're at the point of heat exhaustion. Rapid and weak pulse, so beating really rapidly, but it's not super strong when you feel for your pulse. Muscle cramps, and then nausea and vomiting will come along with that, again, with heat exhaustion. Heat stroke, a couple of different things that you will have to watch out for. You will have a pounding headache. If you're approaching heat stroke criteria, the sweat is all gone at that point. You're not sweating. When you get to a point where you're not sweating, bad things are happening to your body at that point. A red and kind of dry skin type of situation, a rapid and strong pulse, and at that point you need to be getting ready to call 911, or at least call 911 at that point. That's an emergency situation that you need to take care of. In this situation, got to get to that cool spot, and of course start rehydrating, getting back into the acclimation process. Of course, stay up to date with the very latest anytime and everywhere on the Action News 5 First Alert weather app. You can download it in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Keep in mind, we might still catch a quick downpour as we go through the course of the day today, but the better chances for rain will likely come by Thursday. That will be by way of a front that will drop in behind this ridge of high pressure, retreating back to the west of us. That front, again, may kick off a few isolated downpours today, tomorrow, but it gets a little closer to us on Thursday, and eventually behind it, drier air begins to filter in behind it, and that will take us into the weekend. So I tell you, the weekend looks fantastic from the standpoint if you've got plans to be out and about. Maybe you've got that last little bit of school shopping that you need to go do. Arkansas's tax-free weekend is this upcoming weekend. We've got things going on across the Mid-South, events-wise across the region. Get out and enjoy it, but understand it's not going to stick around for very long. Unfortunately, I got to tell you, give you a first alert, above average temperatures. This is the 8 to 14-day outlook. So now we're looking out into much of next week, and we're talking above average temperatures. And of course, a couple of things are going on next week. One of those things, the beginning of school for MSCS on Monday. A lot of the municipalities will go back between Wednesday and Thursday here in Shelby County. Highs will be in the mid-90s. Of course, leading up to the beginning of the FedEx St. Jude Championship. That happening next weekend, and there's going to be a lot of folks who are going to be dealing with the heat coming up here the next couple of days. So be prepared for the heat and humidity combination as we head through the coming days. Here's a look at our first alert for the next 10 days. Again, first alert weather days for today and Wednesday. 98 the forecast high. Feels like temperatures running between about 110 and 115 degrees. Okay, extreme heat here today. 105 to 110 on the feels like temperatures for your Wednesday. There's a better chance for rain and storms to emerge through the course of the day on Thursday. That will eventually usher in the drier air that takes us into the weekend. And like I said, you got to do tax-free shopping over in Arkansas on this weekend. You've got, maybe you just want to go out and enjoy some time over at Tom Lee Park or over at any of the area parks, Shelby Farms, whatever. Good way to get through that. Maybe take a John out to Pickwick Lake to cool off and jump into the water. I think the weather great for us. But next week, of course, the heat does start to build once again, and you'll notice it, especially by the mid portion of the week as the municipalities get back into session. Bartlett on Thursday, as well as Arlington and up towards Lakeland. Those school districts are all getting back through the mid portion of next week. And again, the heat is definitely going to be part of the story.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. We've talked about this. Parenting these days is so difficult, so challenging. I mean, think about it. It's tough enough just to be a parent, but when you throw in social media, new technology, cell phones, it can make parenting that much more challenging. So joining me on the Action News 5 Digital Desk this morning, I am talking with someone who can help us in this digital age, Mickey Wilson. She is part of the National PTA. She's joining us on the digital desk to talk more about this issue. Mickey, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Andrew. I'm great today. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. And as I work to pull you up here, tell me about ways to make parenting in the digital age healthy. I mean, what are some ways that we can help some of those parents out there that, I mean, as you know, I mean, this is something that is so difficult, so challenging when you take away cell phones, when you take away the digital age. But now we have the digital age. It's here to stay. So where do we begin on all this?
Well, I like to think that it begins with a conversation, and not just one conversation, but ongoing conversations, right? And you can't start that conversation at home with your children or your child early enough. So one of the approaches we love to use is the 3P approach, and that is having positive, proactive, practical conversations. We keep them positive because we know that fearing or instilling fear or shaming our children around social media and the devices and everything, that doesn't change their behavior. So we like to keep it positive. Keeping it proactive, starting those conversations as early as possible. We don't want to wait until something bad happens, right? Until our children have a negative experience. And practical is simply about meeting parents and families where they are at, because we know that there's not a one size fits all solution. So on one side of the house, we say positive, proactive, and practical conversations. And then we also like to encourage the talk, try, and teach method. If you are worried about the social media apps and the games, we encourage you to talk to your children about the apps and the games that they're using. Try the apps and their games with them, right? And teach them security and privacy settings that help keep them safe. So those are two approaches in relation to the conversations, but also the role modeling and meeting your child where they're at to learn more about how they see social media and technology.
That's a great step. I really think so, Mickey. I mean, you're having the conversation, you're looking at their phone, you're showing how you should use this new technology. Let's talk about limits now, because I think parents really kind of run the gamut when it comes to limiting social media. Some parents won't let a child have a smartphone, I should say, until about 16. But, having kids that are in college now, I know that when they were in middle school, even in middle school, they needed some sort of smartphone to know when the practice was, know what other teammates are doing with their various activities, clubs, that sort of thing. So what's the best way for parents to put the proper limits, but yet still let them be in touch with their friends, their teachers, their staff members, coaches, that sort of thing?
So true. That's why the conversation is so important, right? Because we know that parents know their children best. We know, they know what's best for their children. But what we've seen is trying to restrict children, particularly teens, they are not going for that. So having the conversation and really learning how they're using the technology, the social media, and everything is very important in creating a conversation around how to set some guidelines and boundaries. So I'll talk quickly about two programs that we have available from PTA connected through our initiative. One is the Smart Talk. It's just a free tool where you can sit down with your child and create guidelines and boundaries around what is healthy device use, technology use look like in our home. And that empowers the child to be part of the process, but also everybody in the household has to follow these rules. So it complements with, again, that positive role modeling. Another program is called Create with Kindness, and this has been at the high school level, and we do this in collaboration with TikTok. And the feature of this program is that we incorporate an adult and a youth panel. We really get to hear from youth how they're using technology, why it's important to them, and then they also tell parents the things they should not fear, because parents sometimes come in with the doom and gloom because we want to protect our children. But the teens are saying, like, look, we're very aware of what's going on too. We actually need this because it complements our lives, right? Educationally, visiting college campuses and whatnot. And one thing I've heard interesting from teens is they are very aware. They cannot wait until they're 21 and an adult to learn about the technology and have access to phones too. So again, starting an earlier conversation gets everybody on the same page, takes away a little bit of the fear, and allows us to figure out what is the best approach for our child, our family. What does that look like for us?
What about parental control apps out there, Mickey? There are a lot that people can install on their phones and on their kids' phones to just kind of monitor what they're looking at.
Yeah, there's a lot. I would say there are apps out there for parental control, but I would really recommend that the social media apps that we're currently using, right, from the Instagrams to the Facebooks to the TikToks and whatever have you, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. And in collaborating with these companies, they have enhanced and optimized their parental controls, the safety features. We find a lot of times that parents don't often know all of the features they have access to be able to monitor and get a sense of how much their kids are using their devices too. So I would encourage parents, families, caregivers to get very familiar with the privacy controls, the parental controls, and the settings that are native to the social media apps that your children are already on.
Is there a place online where we can kind of look at some of the things that you offered and suggested in our interview?
There absolutely is. I encourage you to visit our website at pta.org/connected. There, you're going to have access to all of our resources. These programs, resources, and tools are completely free. You could download them today and start, but you go there, you're going to find everything that you need.
Okay, Mickey Wilson with National PTA. I appreciate this discussion, and I know that our viewers also did as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital. Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I am so proud about our next guest joining us on the Digital Desk. College game day analyst Kirk Herbstreit joining us right now to talk about a little college football, hopefully, and then also going to be talking about a brand new docuseries, Kirk. I'm very interested about it. Of course, your special bond with Peter, your golden retriever. Man, is that social media gold or what? Good morning to you.
Good morning, Andrew. How are you?
I am doing great. First off, let's talk a little bit about this docuseries you got up. Tell us where we can watch it. What's it about?
Well, it's called Fueled By. It is a docuseries about myself, and you'll also have a chance to get to know three elite athletes: George Kittle of the San Francisco 49ers, Rose Lavelle, who plays on the U.S. women's national team, and Sophia Wilson, who also plays on the U.S. team. Just a relationship that, me and my dogs, I have 4 dogs total. That's Peter coming down the hill there. That's my youngest, Bo, with the tennis ball in his mouth. They're a big part of my life. I treat them like family members. But you also have a chance to learn about George Kittle, not only the athlete, but the dog owner, why he loves his 2 dogs so much, Rose Lavelle and her dog. So it was a lot of fun to get to know these folks, not only as great athletes, but also, again, as people who love their dogs and look forward to getting back home and seeing those big smiles and just enjoying that relationship.
And where can we see this and what time?
Yeah, if starting really today throughout the rest of the summer and into the fall, if you go on YouTube and search Pro Plan, you will see these videos. There'll be a new one that pops up every week. And hopefully people will enjoy this journey that we were on. Like I said, the dogs have always been a big passion of mine. And now that I'm able to travel with Peter, I don't know if I'll take Bo, my youngest, or Mitch out this year with me, but having them on the road with me, it's been a real game changer for me. And I know talking with these three athletes and so many people really around the country, we all seem to be able to relate to having that bond and that love that we have for our dogs. And so I feel like our responsibility as receiving that love is taking care of our dogs the best we can. And Pro Plan has been a big part of that for me.
Fantastic, Kirk. I want to talk a little bit about college football. Of course, you guys were here in 2019, College Game Day on Beale Street. I remember you remarking that was one of your top 3 favorite spots in your entire tenure on College Football Game Day. Can you talk a little bit about that experience and then your thoughts on the upcoming season for the University of Memphis and Ole Miss, which is right down the road in Oxford?
Yeah, we did have an incredible stop. It's so many times we go to the traditional powers, Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, year in and year out. And once in a while, we're able to go to a Memphis, and having the set location right there in downtown, like you said, at Beale Street, just the scene that we had, no matter which direction you looked, it was just thousands and thousands of people. We had a lot of fun celebrating Memphis football. The game against SMU that night ended up being a great game. That's one of those programs, it seems like the rich get richer, the bigger programs get bigger. Memphis doing a heck of a job of developing their program. It's very, very challenging when you have a good player at that level in the new world that we live in. A lot of times those players are getting taken away, so puts extra pressure on the Memphis type of programs. But I feel like they're doing a really good job there. And Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin, of course, another program that is so close every single year, it seems like, to knocking that door down and getting into the postseason. He always seems to give his team a chance, always finds a great quarterback, develops great skill around him, and hopefully this year they're able to stay healthy and hopefully make a great run in the SEC this year.
That episode with Lee Corso in the first kickoff of College Game Day in the season there, what's that going to mean for you?
It'll be, we're going to try to make it a celebration because that's what it needs to be. But it's, he'll turn 90 years old August 7th. It'll be his last show. He's retiring, so it'll be his last show, August 30th. I was just with him at the ESPYs in LA. We celebrated him there. We're going to celebrate him on August 30th. The first headgear he ever put on was in 1996. It was about my 4th or 5th show that I ever did with him. He asked my wife, who was a former cheerleader, if she could get the Brutus headgear that he wanted to put on. She was met with some hesitation and some reservations. They finally gave in, and he put the Brutus headgear on, and he did it for the last 29 years. And this will be his last headgear that he puts on. And it's pretty fitting that it's back in Columbus where that tradition started. Hopefully he doesn't put Bevo on. Hopefully he'll put Brutus on. But we'll have a lot of fun. It's going to be a sad day, obviously. Very sentimental. He's like a second father to me. Really, really strong bond and relationship. Somebody I care deeply about. And we're going to try to stay in that celebratory mood. But of course, there'll be some tears shed that day for sure.
Let me ask you a final question about Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin, your thoughts on the SEC this year?
I feel that the SEC is always going to be a wide open conference. With the additions of Texas and Oklahoma, it only has gotten that much deeper. Lane Kiffin has become a very consistent brand, not just with the personality, but with the quarterback play, with the athletic ability that he puts on the field every single year in this portal era. He's able to tap into that and take advantage of it. I'd expect this year to be no different. If he gets good quarterback play, consistent quarterback play, you got to feel that Ole Miss will be right there, and it'll come down to a game or two on whether or not they're able to make it to Atlanta to the SEC title, or maybe make it into the postseason, get to the playoff. I think they've become that kind of brand and with that kind of consistency. So we look forward to seeing what they can do this year.
I'm a Florida grad. Kirk, I remember watching you on College Game Day in the crowd back in the day. Where do you think Florida is going to be?
Man, I think you got one of the best quarterbacks in the country if he can stay healthy. I think DJ Lagway has a real shot this year to have a great year. I thought Florida last year, their head coach, Billy Napier, went into the year, as you know, being a Gator, on the hot seat, and then they started off about as badly as they could. I thought he would have really lost the team, but to their credit, man, they really fought back, had some great wins, and that gives me a lot of hope for this year that they've got the right culture, and if their quarterback's healthy, why not? You know, I'd love to see the Gators get back to being a big time threat in the SEC, and if Lagway lives up to what I think he could do, they very easily could do that.
Final question before we let you go. A surprise team that no one's talking about that you think will have a great year?
Surprise team this year could be, besides, you know, the obvious, like a Penn State team. I think in the SEC, I don't know if they're a surprise team, but I think it's a team that has a real opportunity is the LSU Tigers. They open up with Clemson this year, and I think both of those teams aren't necessarily surprise teams, but I think they both have a chance, whoever wins that game, to really make a run this year. LSU with Brian Kelly, I think, has been close, but they've not been able to get over the hump. And I think if they can win at Death Valley against Clemson, I think they could be a real threat this year in the SEC.
Kirk Herbstreit, really appreciate you chopping it up with me about College Game Day, college football season. I love it. I'm already excited for it. I'm jonesing for it right now. Congratulations on your docuseries, and we appreciate your time on the Digital Desk. Thank you.
You got it, man. Thanks for having us. Really appreciate it.
You got it. Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I'm joined by Daily Memphian reporter Sam Hardiman, who has written a story about Memphis Mayor Paul Young reshuffling his cabinet a little bit, including several new department heads to be more focused on his vision and push his vision for city government. Sam, glad to have you on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. What is the mayor's decision based upon these different cabinet moves, in your best opinion? Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Andrew. Thanks for having me on. I think your question is a complicated one and a difficult one to answer. It's a good question. The mayor, first has had some attrition on his staff, has, removed some staff members over time. And then he's also made some decisions based on what he feels are the best fits for him, his skill set, and what he's in accomplishing what he wants to see for the city. And so I'll take that last bit first. He recently appointed John Zena, a longtime head of planning and development for Memphis and Shelby County, as the city's first head of development and infrastructure. And what that does is essentially bifurcates city government. Before, almost all city department heads, sans fire, and police were reporting up to Chief Operating Officer Antonio Adams. Now about half of them are, and another half are reporting up to John Zena. So that effectively split city government. And as the mayor said, this move is allowed, and this is, an important piece of the story that people should keep in mind, is that both the mayor and John Zena are planners. They're literally city planners. Okay. So their job is, they're trained in creating documents and creating visions for how places should grow. And so what's going to be really interesting now is, you have the city's chief executive, and then one of his second in commands, are city planners and how they over these next 2 years try to shape the city, and the moves they make are going to be really interesting there.
Yeah, I was reading more about that, Sam, and it's like you have this city planner whose emphasis, I guess, his big signature mark was Memphis 3.0, and I know that there's a lot of layers to that whole project, but maybe can you talk about like maybe a little bit of what Memphis 3.0 is all about? Because I would assume him getting this head of development and infrastructure, that would be more of an idea that, okay, we're moving forward with Memphis 3.0 full steam ahead.
Yeah, and so I can't give this giant plan justice in a few seconds soundbite here, but I think it's a comprehensive plan, and it divides the city up into different areas and different neighborhoods, and focuses on which, even intersections or, pieces of neighborhoods need development from the city, as in city infrastructure. And one of the things to keep in mind before we get into like weird planning, weirdness about how that's very dense. Anyone who lives in the city of Memphis knows that there's a ton of vacant land in the city of Memphis. This is a city that is 300 square miles. I was just recently in Denver for a friend's trip, a buddy's trip, and the city of Denver has more people inside it. It has 712,000 person population. It has 153 square miles. City of Memphis has about 618,000 people in it, in about 300 square miles. So it's a giant city, okay, in terms of land area. And so a lot of that area is vacant. And Memphis 3.0 really focuses on the idea that there's plenty of land in the city of Memphis. How does it get redeveloped? How does it get redeveloped thoughtfully, right? Should we be encouraging something in an industrial area part of town? Should we be encouraging more residential there? Or should we be sort of encouraging some of the existing, stable, thriving neighborhoods of Memphis, maybe having some more multifamily, so we have, not just upper class folks in that area, but middle class folks, but doing that thoughtfully. And so all of those things are what the plan considers. There's a real difference between putting something on paper and executing it in reality.
I appreciate you breaking that down for us, Sam. Thank you. There was another person that was appointed, I guess, a neighborhood improvement role, code enforcement, litter control, blight, that sort of thing. What I didn't notice is anything focused on crime in the area, which tells me that the mayor's happy with what he has in terms of the people overseeing the police department, the police officers, and crime going down in the city when you look at the violent crime. And is that too big of an assumption, or where do you think, am I off base?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we should draw from a story that I read what the mayor fully thinks about crime and the function of the police department. I don't think, and we don't cover that there because that's not really the mayor's cabinet. The mayor's cabinet is the police chief. He appoints and oversees Police Chief C.J. Davis, right? Who then runs the police department, right? That's how that's supposed to work. That's not in City Hall. That's in a separate building, literally, right? What the story was focused on was what is happening inside city government at 125 North Main Street, not right next door at 170 North Main Street. I think that's a different bowl of wax that we may cover in the future, but I just would be careful in what I would say about that, because I'm not sure. Like, I think the article itself was more about what's happening at 125 North Main, not 170.
Fair enough, Sam. There are a lot of people that still complain to me about how much litter there is on Memphis streets, and how back in the day, a long time ago, Memphis was one of the cleanest cities in the country. Does this promotion of Melanie Neal, does that give us a little bit of insight into perhaps more of an emphasis on beautification, blight, litter control, that sort of thing, code enforcement?
Yeah, I think so. I think the mayor definitely, and you can read his comments from me. I'll paraphrase him here. I don't have the direct quote memorized, but essentially, he talked about there are two things that really contribute to the negative perception of Memphis. One, we just talked about crime, right? Crime, and it hasn't really gone away. It's maybe decreased some, maybe, but then there's the beautification aspect. Memphis at times, and I drive all over the city, all different parts of town, not just up and down the Poplar Corridor. this city does not look good a lot of the time, and there are a lot of places where it doesn't look good and it could look better. And the mayor is talking about like focusing that, and the Department of Community Enhancement being the focus of that. At the same time, like I just said about Memphis 3.0, it's really easy to say it. It's really easy to put it on paper. It's really a lot harder to do. And then I'd also say to the people who talk about Memphis being cleaner in the past, right? A lot of the people who say that have been longtime Memphians. And one of the things that I think we as Memphians need to keep in mind about how this city grew, and I just talked about the 300 square miles. The 300 square miles really matter here. When Memphis was a cleaner city, it was a smaller city. It was easier to clean. It was easier to pave the streets. It was easier for the police to patrol because they had less miles to drive. Okay? Now we are in a 300 square mile city that is very dirty and has a lot of crime in it. Okay? Those things, it takes resources and it takes a lot of intentionality and effectiveness to make that happen. And so I would just say to everybody, when you ruminate on the past, remember that the square mileage of the city was a lot smaller. And that's a very important thing here.
Okay, Daily Memphian government and politics reporter Sam Hardiman joining us on the digital desk. He has a new article out on the Daily Memphian, dailymemphian.com. Memphis Mayor Paul Young shook up his cabinet. Here's why. Sam, thanks for talking with us about that and some of the details behind that article. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Action News 5 digital desk. Well, our next guest is the creator of those love billboards you'll see on the interstates. God loves Memphis. I love you, Memphis. I'm joined right now on the Action News 5 digital desk. Talisa Franklin joining us. Her positivity is infectious. Each and every week she joins us. How are you, my friend? What's going on?
Hey, I am amazing. I'm amazing. I was just listening to the reporter before. It is truly about Memphis City Beautiful. And I really believe the best of Memphis is yet to come if we all work together, Andrew. And so that was very inspiring to me this morning, just to remind us what we were and what we can be when we all work together. So I'm excited about Memphis. I am. I really
agree. I agree. I mean, Memphis, the best attribute of Memphis is its people. The people make it great. So what's going on with you?
Well, I tell you, there's always some great things, and especially if anything is positive going on, I love to highlight it. And so on this weekend, my dear friend Cheryl has this amazing event every year. It's about a sister girl, right? It is One Sister Girl Can Symposium. Let me tell you, every single year, Cheryl Piggy's Crite brings together women of all nationalities, of all worlds, to come together to have conversations, how we move the needle in our community. So listen, it's going to be civically savvy, and y'all know we got to make sure we on that. Rules of the game, moving strategically, and just not moving to move, but moving with purpose. And of course, her birthday celebration today is her 69th birthday. Happy birthday, my sister. Happy birthday. And so listen, if you have not gotten your tickets, listen, if you are a woman here in the city of Memphis, I encourage you to be a part of this symposium. It is always an amazing time. And so for more information, you can always go to CherylCrite.com, or you can just go to my website and get more information, because I'm all about how do we connect the dots for our community. And I'm telling you, this One Sister Girl Can movement is truly one sister can do it. And I'm super excited and proud to call her my sister friend because she's truly leading the way. It's happening on this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Bridges 477 North 5th Street. Make sure you be in the place. I promise you, you'll walk away inspired, uplifted, and knowing that you got a village of women that's here to help you, guide you, and encourage you to be the best version of you that you can. Sister, you can do this. So make sure you meet us there on this Saturday. And then on the 13th of August, you know, I'm always proud when our church leaders are leading the way, and especially in health and wellness and seniors. If anybody know me, seniors are always dear to my heart. And so Pastor Stoney Butler, the senior pastor of the Mount Pisgah Baptist Church, that is actually doing the work at 1234 Pisgah Road in Cordova, Tennessee. Listen, it's a senior citizen expo. Y'all, let me tell you, it's going to be so many things for our seniors, and I don't want you to miss it. So if you have a grandmother or a grandfather or somebody that you don't know as a senior, get them to this expo on August the 13th from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. They will walk away with all the tools that they need because we know a lot of our seniors are challenged in this season. And so I'm grateful for great leadership of Pastor Stoney Butler and his entire team of Mount Pisgah that thought enough to make sure we have a senior citizen expo in Cordova, Tennessee. So listen, I look forward to seeing you there August 13th, 2025, 10:30 to 1 o'clock. Shout out again to Pastor Stoney Butler and the Mount Pisgah Baptist Church for leading the way of making sure we take care of our seniors. And then I want you to save the date. FUBU, y'all. For us, by us. Hip Hop Awards, y'all. Y'all know I love me a little hip hop every now and then. And I'm super proud of Michael Docker and his entire team that puts on this event. And y'all know Big Boogie is Memphis, y'all. And so let's make sure we support this event. It's 2025 For Us, By Us, Hip Hop Awards, and an experience show. Listen, it's going down at the Cannon Center, 255 North Main, right in downtown Memphis. If you have not gotten your tickets, just go to the Cannon Center box office or Ticketmaster. I'm telling you, it's going to be a great show. And I'm ready for Big Boogie to do his thing with this little girl. I just love it, y'all. So Sunday, August 17th, you ain't got to beat me there. You can just meet me there because I'm going to be in the house. And y'all know I'm going to be having some fun. Andrew, if I have not learned anything else in this great thing life, I'm going to have fun wherever I go.
I know you are, Talisa. And when I'm with you, when you're having fun, it's so grand. It's so wonderful. I love it. Talisa Franklin joining us on the digital desk. We appreciate your time as always, Talisa. Thanks.
Love you and love you, Memphis.
Yes, we love you back. All right. Another live look from our high five camera down Midtown, looking downtown. It is already 87 degrees at 8:37. Let's talk about your forecast in 1 minute. What's up, Jorge?
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 digital desk here on a Tuesday. An extreme heat warning still in effect across the entire Action News 5 coverage area. I think that extreme heat, though, 110 plus on the feels like temperatures, likely across much of West Tennessee, eastern Arkansas, northwest Mississippi. Still a significant issue of heat stress expected across eastern West Tennessee and northeastern Mississippi. But at any rate, this heat wave, again, really surging here today. 96 to 99 on the actual air temperatures, but feels like temperatures temperatures between 108 and 115. Take those hot weather precautions as we go through the course of the day. Actual air temperature high 98 here today. Sun passing clouds, maybe a downpour in a few instances, a light north wind, and typically a north wind force would be a cooler wind. It's just not the case. It's coming on the eastern flank of this ridge of high pressure that is working its way back westward. But excessive heat expected here as we go through the course of the day. Heat stress, let's talk about this. This is taking all elements, say the sun's radiation, the temperature, the humidity, the wind, all of this. This is what we call wet bulb globe temperature. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it doesn't correlate necessarily with heat index. So let's just break it down into terms that you can understand. What is the heat stress to my body during the course of this time? 10 a.m. this morning, we're looking at high heat stress, advancing into the dangerous category. It becomes extreme. And this is at this point that all outdoor activity, whether it be, construction work, roadway work, band practice, football practice, should stop. But I understand, things can't just stop, especially in the professional world. Things can't just stop. So at this point, you've got to take those extra precautions to stay alert to the heat. And guess what? It's probably going to be like that, if not get a little worse, through the course of the late afternoon, early evening hours. By 5 o'clock, we start to come out of it. And it's going to take until 10 o'clock this evening before we start to drop back down below even the elevated category of heat stress. I mean, even early this morning when we came in here to Action News 5 very early this morning, we saw a heat index almost 100 degrees here in Midtown. I think that this will be a common trait even tomorrow as well. Again, you get closer to 10, 11, noontime. Dangerous to extreme heat stress yet again for your Wednesday afternoon, and we'll do the whole process over again. It takes until about 5 o'clock before we come out of that extreme heat and still high heat stress through about 9, 10 o'clock in the evening. Of course, with that being said, again, drink plenty of hydrating fluids, alternating between water as well as Gatorade or Powerade, something with some electrolytes to put some salt and sugar back in your body. The electrolytes, of course, wear light, loose fitting clothing, take plenty of breaks in the shade or indoors, and of course, checking in on your people, just being neighborly, sensitive groups of folks who not have adequate access to cooling relief, the elderly, children, if they're out and about running around. Again, we're almost at the end of school season or beginning of school season. Some schools still waiting to get back in. They might be out there running around just trying to enjoy the last couple of days of summer. Keep an eye on the kids if they are playing basketball, football, whatever. And of course, your pets as well. Make sure they have cold drinking water. Let's talk about the things of heat exhaustion, or the signs of heat exhaustion: feeling faint or dizzy. So when you start to feel that kind of woozy feeling, that's when you may have heat exhaustion. Another sign of that, excessive sweating. So you get to this point as you start to lose sugar, salt, as you excessively sweat during that time frame. Cool, pale, clammy skin. If you all of a sudden, it's 100 degrees outside, you start feeling chills, something's going on there. You're at the point of heat exhaustion. Rapid and weak pulse, so beating really rapidly, but it's not super strong when you feel for your pulse. Muscle cramps, and then nausea and vomiting will come along with that, again, with heat exhaustion. Heat stroke, a couple of different things that you will have to watch out for. You will have a pounding headache. If you're approaching heat stroke criteria, the sweat is all gone at that point. You're not sweating. When you get to a point where you're not sweating, bad things are happening to your body at that point. A red and kind of dry skin type of situation, a rapid and strong pulse, and at that point, you need to be getting ready to call 911, or at least call 911 at that point. That's an emergency situation that you need to take care of. In this situation, you got to get to that cool spot and, of course, start rehydrating, getting back into the acclimation process. Of course, stay up to date with the very latest anytime and everywhere on the Action News 5 First Alert Weather app. You can download it in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Keep in mind, we might still catch a quick downpour as we go through the course of the day today. but the better chances for rain will likely come by Thursday. That will be by way of a front that will drop in behind this ridge of high pressure, retreating back to the west of us. That front, again, may kick off a few isolated downpours today, tomorrow, but it gets a little closer to us on Thursday, and eventually behind it, drier air begins to filter in behind it, and that will take us into the weekend. So I tell you, the weekend looks fantastic from the standpoint if you've got plans to be out and about. Maybe you've got that last little bit of school shopping that you need to go do. Arkansas's tax-free weekend is this upcoming weekend. We've got things going on across the Mid-South, events-wise across the region. Get out and enjoy it, but understand it's not going to stick around for very long. Unfortunately, I got to tell you, give you a first alert, above average temperatures. This is the 8 to 14 day outlook. So now we're looking out into much of next week, and we're talking above average temperatures. And of course, a couple of things are going on next week. One of those things, the beginning of school for MSCS on Monday. A lot of the municipalities will go back between Wednesday and Thursday here in Shelby County. Highs will be in the mid-90s. Of course, leading up to the beginning of the FedEx St. Jude Championship. That happening next weekend, and there's going to be a lot of folks who are going to be dealing with the heat coming up here the next couple of days. So be prepared for the heat and humidity combination as we head through the coming days. Here's a look at our first alert for the next 10 days. Again, first alert weather days for today and Wednesday. 98 the forecast high. Feels like temperatures running between about 110 and 115 degrees. Okay, extreme heat here today. 105 to 110 on the feels like temperatures for your Wednesday. There's a better chance for rain and storms to emerge through the course of the day on Thursday. That will eventually usher in the drier air that takes us into the weekend. And like I said, you got to do tax-free shopping over in Arkansas on this weekend. You've got, maybe you just want to go out and enjoy some time over at Tom Lee Park or over at any of the area parks, Shelby Farms, whatever. Good way to get through that. Maybe take a John out to Pickwick Lake to cool off and jump into the water. I think the weather great for us. But next week, of course, the heat does start to build once again, and you'll notice it, especially by the mid portion of the week as the municipalities get back into session. Bartlett on Thursday, as well as Arlington and up towards Lakeland. Those school districts are all getting back through the mid portion of next week. And again, the heat is definitely going to be part of the story.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. So we're getting ready for school. We're getting ready for the routine. Perhaps there's some school systems that are already into that routine, and they've been in that routine for several days now. Going from summer session, where you're off for a couple of months, several weeks, to school every day, that can be a big transition, especially for some of those youngsters out there. So what are the best methods, maybe great suggestions, ideas for parents and students to get back into that school routine? Well, joining me now on the Action News 5 Digital Desk, I am joined by Dr. Lindsay Pate. She is a licensed child psychologist, therapist, joining us on the Action News 5 Digital Desk just to kind of give us some great ideas and ways to ease into that school year. So, Lindsay, where do we begin on this? Because I know that there's going to be a little bit of maybe more of an anxious or stressful time for some of those parents out there. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. So, mixed feelings are typical and common for both kids and parents when we're starting a new preschool or early childhood experience. And really, the first step is talking in advance to the children about what's going to be taking place. For some kids, it may be the first time that they have been away from their parent or caregiver for any amount of time. And so really setting the expectations early and talking frequently about what to expect can help kids to better prepare.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Just kind of laying it out to them in their own terms, letting them know, okay, hey, look, we're going to drop you off here. You're going to have great friends. Mrs. whatever her name is going to be great for you. That's a great thing to just kind of lay out. What happens in those situations, though? And having two kids that are now in college. What happens in those situations when you drop off your kid and maybe there's some crying involved? There's a lot of tears. That stuff is really hard on the parents too.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I always say, to any parent that I work with or caregiver, you are the expert on your child. But in these circumstances, these early childhood care workers and teachers, they really are the professionals in that environment. And so following their lead and giving the care over to them can really communicate to the child they're responsible, they'll keep you safe, they know and they will take care of you. And mommy, daddy, grandma, grandpa, whomever it is, always comes back. So having that message to the child to say, this is where you're going to be going today. Here's what I'm going to be doing. Maybe not talking about the fun things that you'll do, but it's kind of boring. I have to go to work. I have to run errands. You get to play. You get to see friends. You get to eat snacks. And then here's the time that I'm going to be back. So kids really understand the routine. They have clear communication and they have the trust communicated by the caregiver that this person will provide for you.
That's a great idea. That's good discussions there. Is it helpful to perhaps give that child, very young child, maybe a stuffed animal or something from home that can make them feel a little bit more secure?
Absolutely. I think most young children have some kind of attachment object or something that's really important to them. Currently for my child, there's one dog that has gone every day to school with them this year. And everybody knows Doug the dog. He's part of the routine. He takes a nap every day with the child. And that really can help to say, I have this item that I can hold on to. Kids also really connect to caregivers who say, I'm going to give a kiss here on your hand or here on your cheek, and you can hold on to it until I come back, and then you can give it back to me at the end of the day. And so helping them to stay tied into and recognize that there is something that connects me between the two environments and also helps me to have faith that my loved one is going to return back for me.
Great stuff there. So, Lindsay, what about the parents out there? Because we know there's a lot of moms that are going to be really stressed out too, making sure that their kids are okay. What am I going to be doing? How am I going to be able to do this effectively? Smooth transition, that sort of thing. What kind of recommendations do you have for them?
Yeah, I think it's just as important for preparing your child, but preparing yourself as well. And so, setting up for success doesn't mean just the night before getting into that school bedtime routine, but perhaps even a couple of weeks in advance, making sure we get quality sleep, making sure that we do some test runs on packing the backpack and driving to school. It doesn't always have to be a stuffed animal that the kid could take, but we could create a little photo book of here's the picture of so-and-so's school. Here's a picture of mommy driving up to get you after school. And so they could have that with them and look at it throughout the day. The public library has a lot of great resources and books about transitions and making new friends. And that truly is one of the strongest benefits that we know for early childhood is that being around kids and peers is how young children learn. It's through the art of play. And so being able to engage and interact with other young kids is a gift that caregivers can give to their young children as far as development and growth.
I love your suggestions, your recommendations. These are really spot on point for so many families that join us here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. What else could we offer as a way to help some of those parents with those little toddlers, maybe perhaps starting school or going back, kindergarten, first grade, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think most schools, thankfully, now have orientation days or visits where you get to meet the teacher, see your classroom, really orient to the new space and environment. If at all possible, go to those, even if it is the same school that the child attended the year prior, because it's a new teacher particularly. new classmates, an opportunity for our caregivers to meet other parents. And so we might be able to set up play dates or park visits where other kids they can engage with and interact, at least have a familiar face for those first few days of school, and help them to talk with that teacher or caregiver in advance and say, these are my concerns about my child. Here's what they do well. How can we build off those strengths and buffer against anything that might be a challenge? If I know it's going to be hard that first day for them to leave, can I stick around a few minutes? But then we have a plan in place together for me to say, okay, here's my code word that I need to exit, and truly have a one, I'm leaving, goodbye, here's our song that we sing before I go, or here's the final hug, and you're going to give me the hug back at the end of the day, and then exit and not return. Because coming back actually communicates to the child that they're not safe without you. And so having that really clear and clean removal from the environment may be harder on the mom and dad, but actually tells the child that they can handle it.
Yeah, that's great stuff. I enjoy that. And so many schools these days, have kind of a session before, or at least a meet and greet before school begins to kind of make sure you see the lay of the land. The kid does as well. You interact with the teacher beforehand. So I know that's beneficial for some families out there. Anything else you want to mention, Lindsay, before we let you go?
I think just, again, routine, communication, and consistency. It applies pretty much across the board at this age range for young children. It's predictable. It helps them feel safe. It helps them normalize their experiences. But especially in a school setting where things are new and different, it can actually help calm the worries and the fears that your child may be having.
Wonderful. Okay, Dr. Lindsay Pate, licensed child psychologist and therapist, joining us on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Thank you so much for these ideas, suggestions, and ways to kind of ease in to that new school routine for all those little kiddos out there. We appreciate your time. Thank you. All right, good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. It's summertime. We know it's hot. We know that we're going to take our pet out for a walk. They're going to be out and about, and there's always some things to be concerned about when you take your pet outside. The normal hazards during the summer, heat stroke and dehydration, but there are some other things you might not be thinking about. I'm joined on the Action News 5 Digital Desk by Dr. Alexandra Meyer. She is a doctor of veterinary medicine. She is at VCA Woodbridge Animal Hospital, and joining us to talk about some of those dangers, those threats out there for our pet, and just some friendly reminders to keep them safe. Where do we begin, Alexandra? Good morning.
Well, you hit it right, kind of nail on that head. Heat's a big one. It is a heat wave right now. Our pets are very sensitive to some heat, so we do have to keep an eye on that. But also at the same time, food's a big one. We do have to worry about what kind of food our pets are being exposed to, as well as grills, fire pits, even candles and swimming pools can cause potential dangers if we're not careful.
Okay, so let's for our audience there, we have thousands of people who watch us each and every morning. Let's talk about those great ideas, suggestions, some tips out there just to have a safe summer for our pets.
Right. One tip that I highly recommend, we are going to have lots of barbecues this summer. It's beautiful. We are enjoying corn cobs, ribs, chicken bones. When you're done, put them in the trash and take that trash out to the curb. Don't let it sit in your house and become a potential hazard for your pet. It smells good, they want to eat it, but it can become obstructed. We can have GI irritation. Just take it out of your house so it doesn't become a problem.
Let's talk a little bit about the pavement. You know, oftentimes we don't think about how hot that pavement can get. Just some friendly reminders out there.
Absolutely. So when you go outside, that pavement absorbs quite a bit of heat. Take your hand and put it on the sidewalk or on the asphalt. If you can't hold your hand there more than a few seconds, it's too hot for your pet. Keep them on the grass if we are going to go for a walk, or if possible, keep them inside. Make it so they can't get their poor little paw pads burned.
What about a swimming pool? You know, you were just mentioning grilling out outside. You know, there's festivities going on. How do we keep our pets safe in the pool?
So pools are wonderful. Again, human nature, we love to be out there spending time with our pets, but even the strongest swimmer can become tired and can potentially drown. If you have a fence, putting a fence around the pool is a great safety, but also teaching your pet where those exit points are. If you have a shelf, also just always supervising your pet when you're around water or in the pool, and making sure if there is a dangerous situation, we can remove them from the pool.
Anything else you want to mention before we let you go, Alexandra?
DCA has a wonderful summer safety handbook on their website at www.dca.com. Also, from June 23rd to July 15th, our local ERs are having a 50% off coupon of your exam fee. You can find your local ER by going to www.dca.com, clicking Find Care in the right corner, and putting in your zip code to find your local VCA veterinarian.
Okay, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine Alexandra Meyer joining us on the Action News 5 digital desk. Thank you so much for some of those tips and ideas and suggestions for all of us to have a safe and happy summer. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Joe, good morning. It's Andrew Douglas. How are you?
Good, Andrew. How you doing, bud?
Doing great, doing great. Looking forward to the FedEx St. Jude. I try to go each and every year. It's amazing.
Glad to hear it.
I think you have the best job in America, so.
It's still a job at the end of the day, but we have our ups and downs.
Yeah. Okay, we got 30 seconds. I just wanted to say hey.
All good. Sounds good. I appreciate it.
All right, good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 digital desk. Well, we are getting ready for the big golf event. Yes, the golf tournament comes to the Bluff City. The TPC Southwind in Memphis is next week. It's amazing each and every year. Been going to this for years. It never disappoints. It never disappoints, and I'm so looking forward to the 2025 FedEx St. Jude Golf Tournament. Joining me on the Action News 5 digital desk, the man who's got the best job in America. I'm talking to Joe Tomek. He is on the digital desk. He's the director of the FedEx St. Jude. And Joe, tell me all the good stuff that's happening with you guys this week. I mean, the preparations, everything at TPC Southwind's got to be looking mighty fine right now, isn't it? Good morning.
It does, yeah. This is the final week before we're open to the public and get to show off a year's worth of hard work for my team. One of my predecessors used to say we're down to just our last 1,000 details. So that's kind of consuming our time here as we look to open up to the public and welcome the best 70 players in the world here at TPC Southwind next week.
I can't wait. Tell us about the fan experience for perhaps some people who haven't been in a while. Can you refresh kind of what that fan experience is like, from the food to watching their favorite golfers to other interactive experiences?
Yeah, I think that's the most important piece that our team's trying to relay this year is yes, we have the best 70 golfers in the world. If you are a golf fan, there is no better place to see your favorite stars up close in person than right here as we kick off the FedEx Cup playoffs, the entire postseason for the PGA Tour. But it's also way more than that. If you're not a golf fan, don't know golf, or don't even know any of the 70 golfers, that's fine too, because we have incredible food with a lot of local Memphis companies and food partners that will be out here this year. We've got a great youth program where kids get in completely free, 15 and under. 2 kids can come in per adult. There's also a bunch of places where you can get out of the heat, shaded bleachers, air-conditioned venues, fun activities for the whole family from partners like AutoZone, Southland Casino, and others. There is a awesome community experience and environment that happens here at TPC Southwind each and every year. We really feel it's starting to become the city's biggest family reunion.
That's one of the selling points, I think, that's so great about it, Joe, is the fact that even if you're not the biggest golf fan, you can have a great time there with the whole family. Everybody gets into it. The other thing I like about it, Joe, is that, I mean, it's benefiting an amazing cause here right in Memphis, and that's St. Jude.
Yeah, we have the ultimate charitable relationship in all of professional sports. First and foremost, we have FedEx, who I truly believe is the greatest corporate community champion in the world. And they allow St. Jude to be a part of the event name and logo. And it really just lays the foundation that this event is bigger. It's more than the sport that happens within the ropes. It's more than the 18 holes of golf. You know, at the end of the day, you see our players adorned with St. Jude patient artwork, and our caddies have it on their bibs. And on Sunday, a really special moment, you have patients who have gone through the worst of the worst that none of us wish upon our friends or family. And the best golfers in the world, whether they just won the tournament or they lost it, are still taking a moment to show their appreciation and thanks to that patient there on 18 on Sunday. And you know, in addition to the money that we're able to raise, which last year was $7.6 million for the hospital, bringing us to a total of over 80 million since our relationship started. It really is the global exposure and sharing the mission that St. Jude is on to rid the world of childhood cancer that is at the core of the tournament.
Your job isn't lost on me, Joe. I mean, you have to be kind of an air traffic controller. I mean, you're going through different things and making sure everything is pristine come golf week. But when everything is said and done, Joe, what is the most gratifying aspect to this tournament?
Well, I'm blessed with a really talented team who spends all year preparing for this moment. And, you know, we've got one shot at it, and we got one time a year to make sure it's as perfect as it possibly can be. And we take great pride in that. But ultimately, we work 51 weeks out of the year. That 52nd, come next week, we kind of hand the keys over to the 1,600 volunteers, and they're the ones that really make this thing tick. Everything from scanning tickets and greeting customers at the gates to making sure there's water on every tee box for the players and literally everything in between. And so to really sit back and see that family come together each and every year, they're all wearing their pins, which signifies a different 5 years of service. Ask any one of them that you see out here in their royal blue shirts next week, and they'll be proud to tell you how long they've been doing it, the first year they did it, what committees they've been on, and you'll see a real passion come out of them when they speak about their experience as a volunteer. And being a small piece of that family is what's gives me a lot of joy and pride getting to see that all come together.
That's great stuff, Joe. One of the things you mentioned earlier, and I want to hit on that a little bit, a lot of people love to complain about how hot it is. Oh my God, it's so hot, especially tournament time. But I want to make sure all of our viewers know, and we have thousands that watch each and every morning here on the digital desk, that there are AC venues open so you can escape the heat. Can you do a little bit of a deep dive on that?
Yeah, there's so many ways to still enjoy the tournament, despite what I've heard can be a warm week in Memphis in August. So first and foremost, we encourage everyone to bring in your own water bottle. Throughout the golf course, there are free water refill stations, courtesy of a great partner in Stanley 1913. Second, there's free sunscreen stations throughout the entire property as well, thanks to Blue Cross Blue Shield. And also there are 4 bleachers located on some of our most premium holes that are completely open to the public, full of shade, and offer great vantage points to watch some incredible golf. And then finally, to your point, there are numerous locations throughout the property where you can get air conditioning as a general spectator, whether that's the fan shop and you're looking for the newest merch from this year, including from a great local partner in Oxbow, or the Hub, also right there on 18, where you'll have a ton of activities and fun fan engagements from partners like AutoZone, South, and Casino. And then finally, if you're 21 and over, Tito's has an awesome bar located right there on the 18th green. If you're not, or if you're a nursing mother or have young children, there's also a family care suite right next to it where you can get a reprieve from the heat if you need to change a diaper. Nursing mother, you just need your little one to have a break for a moment from the heat.
So we've talked about sunscreen, we've talked about the Memphis food, we've talked about the youth program where people 15 and under can get in, we've talked about the AC venues and all the money going towards St. Jude. What else can we talk about this glorious week that's coming up at the FedEx St. Jude, Joe?
I think it's the magnitude and impact that this tournament has on our city. Yes, this is a golf tournament. But it's more than that. It's a global showcase of Memphis. And we've got broadcasts around the world to over 200 countries and over 30 different languages. In and out of that broadcast, you're seeing beauty shots of downtown or Shelby Farms or Tom Lee Park, these iconic venues within Memphis that our broadcast partners really help us promote. All the while, we're bringing in thousands of spectators from around the country who are flying into our airport, staying in our hotels, eating in our restaurants, ultimately generating nearly $100 million in economic impact to our city. So again, while it is a golf tournament at its core, there's so much more to it, and it all stems from the support of the local community. So every ticket you buy, every hospitality you purchase, every way that you support this tournament continues its growth and ultimately continues its impact it's able to have on the city.
Joe Tomek, we appreciate you and your entire staff that does such an amazing job putting Memphis on the global showcase among 220 countries next week at the FedEx St. Jude Championship. Thanks for coming on the digital desk, and I'll see you out there next week.
Thanks for having me, Andrew.
Appreciate you, Joe. Thanks again. Another live look from our High Five camera as we go to break here. It is a hot one out there, 90 degrees already at 11 minutes after 9 o'clock. Let's talk about your forecast in 1 minute.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 digital desk here on a Tuesday. An extreme heat warning still in effect across the entire Action News 5 coverage area. I think that extreme heat, though, 110 plus on the feels like temperatures, likely across much of West Tennessee, eastern Arkansas, northwest Mississippi. Still a significant issue of heat stress expected across eastern West Tennessee and northeastern Mississippi. But at any rate, this heat wave, again, really surging here today. 96 to 99 on the actual air temperatures, but feels like temperatures temperatures between 108 and 115. Take those hot weather precautions as we go through the course of the day. Actual air temperature high 98 here today. Sun passing clouds, maybe a downpour in a few instances, a light north wind, and typically a north wind force would be a cooler wind. It's just not the case. It's coming on the eastern flank of this ridge of high pressure that is working its way back westward. But excessive heat expected here as we go through the course of the day. Heat stress, let's talk about this. This is taking all elements, say the sun's radiation, the temperature, the humidity, the wind, all of this. This is what we call wet bulb globe temperature. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it doesn't correlate necessarily with heat index. So let's just break it down into terms that you can understand. What is the heat stress to my body during the course of this time? 10 a.m. this morning, we're looking at high heat stress, advancing into the dangerous category. It becomes extreme. And this is at this point that all outdoor activity, whether it be, construction work, roadway work, band practice, football practice, should stop. But I understand, things can't just stop, especially in the professional world. Things can't just stop. So at this point, you've got to take those extra precautions to stay alert to the heat. And guess what? It's probably going to be like that, if not get a little worse through the course of the late afternoon, early evening hours. By 5 o'clock, we start to come out of it. And it's going to take until 10 o'clock this evening before we start to drop back down below even the elevated category of heat stress. I mean, even early this morning when we came in here to Action News 5 very early this morning, we saw a heat index almost 100 degrees here in Midtown. I think that this will be a common trait even tomorrow as well. Again, you get closer to 10, 11, noontime. Dangerous to extreme heat stress yet again for your Wednesday afternoon, and we'll do the whole process over again. It takes until about 5 o'clock before we come out of that extreme heat and still high heat stress through about 9, 10 o'clock in the evening. Of course, with that being said, again, drink plenty of hydrating fluids, alternating between water as well as Gatorade or Powerade, something with some electrolytes to put some salt and sugar back in your body. The electrolytes, of course, wear light, loose fitting clothing, take plenty of breaks in the shade or indoors, and of course, checking in on your people, just being neighborly. Sensitive groups of folks who not have adequate access to cooling relief, the elderly, children, if they're out and about running around. Again, we're almost at the end of school season or beginning of school season. Some schools still waiting to get back in. They might be out there running around just trying to enjoy the last couple of days of summer. Keep an eye on the kids if they are playing basketball, football, whatever. And of course, your pets as well. Make sure they have cold drinking water. Let's talk about the things of heat exhaustion, or the signs of heat exhaustion: feeling faint or dizzy. So when you start to feel that kind of woozy feeling, that's when you may have heat exhaustion. Another sign of that, excessive sweating. So you get to this point as you start to lose sugar, salt, as you excessively sweat during that time frame. Cool, pale, clammy skin. If you all of a sudden, it's 100 degrees outside, you start feeling chills, something's going on there. You're at the point of heat exhaustion. Rapid and weak pulse, so beating really rapidly, but it's not super strong when you feel for your pulse. Muscle cramps, and then nausea and vomiting will come along with that, again, with heat exhaustion. Heat stroke, a couple of different things that you will have to watch out for. You will have a pounding headache. If you're approaching heat stroke criteria, the sweat is all gone at that point. You're not sweating. When you get to a point to where you're not sweating, bad things are happening to your body at that point. A red and kind of dry skin type of situation, a rapid and strong pulse, and at that point, you need to be getting ready to call 911, or at least call 911 at that point. That's an emergency situation that you need to take care of. In this situation, got to get to that cool spot and, of course, start rehydrating, getting back into the acclimation process. Of course, stay up to date with the very latest anytime and everywhere on the Action News 5 First Alert Weather app. You can download it in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Keep in mind, we might still catch a quick downpour as we go through the course of the day today. but the better chances for rain will likely come by Thursday. That will be by way of a front that will drop in behind this ridge of high pressure, retreating back to the west of us. That front, again, may kick off a few isolated downpours today, tomorrow, but it gets a little closer to us on Thursday, and eventually behind it, drier air begins to filter in behind it, and that will take us into the weekend. So I tell you, the weekend looks fantastic from the standpoint if you've got plans to be out and about. Maybe you've got that last little bit of school shopping that you need to go do. Arkansas's tax-free weekend is this upcoming weekend. We've got things going on across the Mid-South, events-wise across the region. Get out and enjoy it, but understand it's not going to stick around for very long. Unfortunately, I got to tell you, give you a first alert, above average temperatures. This is the 8 to 14 day outlook. So now we're looking out into much of next week, and we're talking above average temperatures. And of course, a couple of things are going on next week. One of those things, the beginning of school for MSCS on Monday. A lot of the municipalities will go back between Wednesday and Thursday here in Shelby County. Highs will be in the mid-90s. Of course, leading up to the beginning of the FedEx St. Jude Championship. That happening next weekend, and there's going to be a lot of folks who are going to be dealing with the heat coming up here the next couple of days. So be prepared for the heat and humidity combination as we head through the coming days. Here's a look at our first alert for the next 10 days. Again, first alert weather days for today and Wednesday. 98 the forecast high. Feels like temperatures running between about 110 and 115 degrees. Okay, extreme heat here today. 105 to 110 on the feels like temperatures for your Wednesday. There's a better chance for rain and storms to emerge through the course of the day on Thursday. That will eventually usher in the drier air that takes us into the weekend. And like I said, you got to do tax-free shopping over in Arkansas on this weekend. You've got, maybe you just want to go out and enjoy some time over at Tom Lee Park or over at any of the area parks, Shelby Farms, whatever. Good way to get through that. Maybe take a John out to Pickwick Lake to cool off and jump into the water. I think the weather great for us. But next week, of course, the heat does start to build once again, and you'll notice it, especially by the mid portion of the week as the municipalities get back into session. Bartlett on Thursday, as well as Arlington and up towards Lakeland. Those school districts are all getting back through the mid portion of next week. And again, the heat is definitely going to be part of the story.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I want to tell you this. 1 in 6 people worldwide experience some sort of infertility. And for many parents or would-be parents out there, the path to parenthood, well, that can feel overwhelming, sometimes isolating, and emotionally exhausting, I should say. Joining me now on the Action News 5 Digital Desk, I'm joined by 2 ladies, Olympic gold medalist Tara Lipinski and Dr. Lucky Seacon. She is a reproductive endocrinologist and an infertility specialist. They are joining me on the digital desk to talk about infertility. And Tara, good morning to you. I first want to begin with you. People very familiar with your Olympic record. Congratulations on all your success, your Olympic gold, that sort of thing. But you also had this battle with infertility. Can you tell us about that battle and how you're helping others? Good morning.
Good morning. So yes, it was a long journey for us. We went on a 5-year infertility journey. We went through IVF and miscarriage, endometriosis, and then eventually we chose surrogacy to bring our daughter into this world. But we went through a lot, and I had 24 procedures over those 5 years, 8 egg retrievals, 6 failed transfers, 4 miscarriages. So it was a really difficult phase of life. It was the hardest thing that I had ever done. And I wasn't telling people. I kind of kept it all to myself, and it was a lot to deal with because I still think that there is a taboo feeling when it comes to infertility or miscarriage where we can't really feel comfortable speaking openly about it. And that is really what I'm trying to change, and what my husband and I did when we documented our story and sort of told the world. And it was to change that, to break down the stigma and to open the conversation and have honest conversations about infertility or miscarriage or surrogacy, to normalize it. And that's what we're doing here today. We're partnering with Fertility Out Loud, and Fertility Out Loud is an incredible resource where people that are just starting the journey or have been on it for a while and facing obstacles can go, and it's just a safe place to land to get real information and to also get support. It's a community where there are so many people experiencing the feelings you're feeling, have gone through what you are going through. And I think when a story mirrors your own, there is a great sense of relief, just feeling I'm not alone. I'm not as isolated as I think, and there's hope. And I think hope is one of the most important things you can have on this journey, because there's so many unexpected things that happen, and it can take a while. So you have to have that strength, and you have to be resilient, and you have to get back in the game. And sometimes that's really hard to do. So having a little family to support you like Fertility Out Loud is, for me, it's priceless, and it's an incredible resource.
I appreciate you opening up to us, Tara. Thank you so much. Lucky, over to you. I keep on hearing over and over again how infertility is becoming more and more of an issue with aspiring parents. Is there any indication what's causing this infertility? I know a lot of theories are out there. What can you tell us?
Well, I think it's great that we're having conversations like this. I think there is more awareness, so it can sometimes feel like it's more prevalent because we're talking about it, and it's being diagnosed more and treated more, which is, these are all positives. I think there is a sense that it is increasing in prevalence, though, and one major factor in that is the biological clock. We know that aging, especially on the female side, can really make it more difficult to get pregnant, to ovulate a healthy egg month after month, and it can make an already really inefficient process less efficient. And that's why we give advice like, okay, if you're under 35 and you've been trying for up to a year, it's time to seek help. You don't want to wait too long to see a doctor for testing and treatment. And if you're 35 and older, it's time to see a specialist at the 6-month mark. And if you're in your 40s and you're starting on this journey, don't wait longer than 3 months.
Lucky, let me press a little bit, because I know that there's some parents out there that are watching this that want to have a baby so badly. What would you tell aspiring parents out there that are probably about to or just beginning this whole process?
I think it's important to get educated, because a lot of us, the last time we thought about fertility and what it takes to get pregnant was when we were trying to prevent pregnancy, when we were in high school health class. And unfortunately, society lacks the education needed to really understand this intricate process. So going to resources like fertilityoutloud.com, finding reputable sources to help guide you in your journey so you're not wasting valuable time. I think that's really the first step, is getting to know your body, tracking your cycle, and reporting things to your doctor early and often. If you have painful periods or they're irregular, don't normalize that, because there might be something going on that's deeper. And there can be lots of different gynecologic reasons that one can have trouble with conceiving. And it's important to really get to the bottom of these and get diagnosed sooner rather than later, because it is so time sensitive.
So, Tara, back over to you. You have such a large social media following, big presence there online. What do you want other people to know about your struggles to help them through perhaps their journey and their struggle as well.
Well, it can be really hard to share these feelings with people outside of your immediate family. And that was something that I struggled with for so long. And I think truthfully, every person's experience is so unique to themselves, and they need to do what's right for their mental health. If they don't want to share, then don't share. If you want to share, then share. And I think for me, I eventually got to that point where I wanted to share. And I just hope, that I can be a source of hope for people who have gone on long journeys. I can hopefully help empower people to advocate for themselves, to get educated, to find support. And at the end of the day, I just want to validate people's emotions through this process. And I think that's what struck me the most when I did tell my story, is the overwhelming response and support that I got from this community. And, there was so many times that, of course, I talked to my immediate family and friends and tried to explain what I was going through. But when someone actually walks that path, they speak about it in a way where you just think, oh my goodness, those are my words. Like, I feel that exact same feeling. And to hear that, it makes you feel so seen and heard, and it makes you feel that your feelings are validated. And it also creates a really beautiful bond with, for me, sometimes just a perfect stranger that is DMing me on Instagram. But you realize, oh wow, we really have gone through something that not everyone can understand. So I think finding a support system on this incredibly sometimes difficult journey is essential.
Well, listen, ladies, thank you very much for joining us on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. We really appreciate the information and your stories and where people can go for help. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. The Memphis Botanic Garden has events all year long. I mean, every time of the year, there's different events for children, there's different events for adults, in addition to just being an amazing place with 96 acres of beauty right in the city. I'm joined on the Action News 5 Digital Desk by Natalie Brashear. She is inside Memphis Botanic Garden right now to tell us more about My Backyard and this back to school bash. Good morning, Natalie. How are you?
Yes. Good morning. Good morning from My Big Backyard here at the Memphis Botanic Garden. Yes, I wanted to share an event that we have coming up August 16th, which is a Saturday from 10 to 2 p.m. It's one of our Friends of My Big Backyard tabling and partnership events. And it's an informal community event at the Children's Garden here at Memphis Botanic, where we invite a lot of our community partners and like-minded organizations to come set up in the Children's Garden and share their fall back to school and educational programming with our visitor base.
It's fantastic, Natalie. When my kids were little, we went to My Big Backyard at Botanic Garden. So for the thousands of people who are watching us right now who perhaps have never been, tell us a little bit about My Big Backyard and what's going to happen on August 16th.
Right. So My Big Backyard is the children's garden within the Memphis Botanic Garden. We have all different kinds of gardens within the larger garden here. Our garden, My Big Backyard, is 2.5 acres of curated area that is special for the kids and families specifically. We have designed all different kinds of school playhouses and play environments where you can come with your family and experience this really unique, special nature-based experience here in Memphis. And the My Big Backyard event, the Friends of MIBI, as we like to call My Big Backyard internally event, We'll invite some of our like-minded organizations like the Memphis Zoo, the Memphis Library System, Children's Museum to come set up a table and share some of the programming that they also offer for these families, for our visitor base, so that they can kind of see all the interconnected youth development resources that we have in Memphis.
It always is a great time to be at Memphis Botanic Garden, and certainly with everybody getting into the mindset of being back to school, this is a perfect time to once again go in this beautiful family fun event. Gosh, how long has it been going on now?
So this is our second official Friends of Mibby tabling event, but we had a wonderful success last summer with the birthday bash that was celebrating 15 years of the Children's Garden here at the Memphis Botanic. So we're in our 16th year of the Children's Garden and just starting to fold in more of these community-based events so that we can really continue to establish this specific garden within the Memphis Botanic Garden as a community gathering space where we can share experiences, resources, and memories here in Memphis. So this is our second official Friends of Mibby tabling event, and we really hope that people will join us so that we can continue to build momentum here and pepper these throughout our seasons of programming. I would also like to add it is free with admission, so really come one, come all to experience this and learn a little bit more about what all of our wider Memphis community organizations have to offer.
Natalie, this has been great. I enjoy seeing the background too. I can actually see some little kids kind of having fun over there already.
Exactly.
If people want to see online, Natalie, maybe some more details about, how much it costs to get in or what have you, where can they go? Can you give us the website?
Yes, so membg.org, the Memphis Botanic Garden website, outlines our admission policy as well as upcoming events. We have so much going on, as you said earlier, so checking out the events calendar there, reading up on what's to come and how, admissions work and all the various options we have going on here. That would be the membg.org, Memphis Botanic Garden website, as well as our Instagram, membg.
Yes, all the socials. 96 acres of beauty in the city of Memphis, Memphis Botanic Garden. Natalie Brashear, we really appreciate you breaking down this August 16th event, My Big Backyard, Back to School Bash. Thanks for coming on the digital desk and explaining it all for us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You got it. All right. Another live look from our High Five camera as we go to break here. A balmy 90 degrees already at 9:35. Let's talk about your forecast in 1 minute.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 digital desk here on a Tuesday. An extreme heat warning still in effect across the entire Action News 5 coverage area. I think that extreme heat, though, 110 plus on the feels like temperatures, likely across much of West Tennessee, eastern Arkansas, northwest Mississippi. Still a significant issue of heat stress expected across eastern West Tennessee and northeastern Mississippi. But at any rate, this heat wave, again, really surging here today. 96 to 99 on the actual air temperatures, but feels like temperatures between 108 and 115. Take those hot weather precautions as we go through the course of the day. Actual air temperature high 98 here today. Sun passing clouds, maybe a downpour in a few instances, a light north wind, and typically a north wind force would be a cooler wind. It's just not the case. It's coming on the eastern flank of this ridge of high pressure that is working its way back westward. But excessive heat expected here as we go through the course of the day. Heat stress, let's talk about this. This is taking all elements, say the sun's radiation, the temperature, the humidity, the wind, all of this. This is what we call wet bulb globe temperature. it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it doesn't correlate necessarily with heat index. So let's just break it down into terms that you can understand. What is the heat stress to my body during the course of this time? 10 a.m. this morning, we're looking at high heat stress, advancing into the dangerous category. It becomes extreme. And this is at this point that all outdoor activity, whether it be, construction work, roadway work, band practice, football practice, should stop. But I understand. Things can't just stop, especially in the professional world. Things can't just stop. So at this point, you've got to take those extra precautions to stay alert to the heat. And guess what? It's probably going to be like that, if not get a little worse through the course of the late afternoon, early evening hours. By 5 o'clock, we start to come out of it. And it's going to take until 10 o'clock this evening before we start to drop back down below even the elevated category of heat stress. I mean, even early this morning when we came in here to Action News 5 very early this morning, we saw a heat index almost 100 degrees here in Midtown. I think that this will be a common trait even tomorrow as well. Again, you get closer to 10, 11, noontime. Dangerous to extreme heat stress yet again for your Wednesday afternoon, and we'll do the whole process over again. It takes until about 5 o'clock before we come out of that extreme heat and still high heat stress through about 9, 10 o'clock in the evening. Of course, with that being said, again, drink plenty of hydrating fluids, alternating between water as well as Gatorade or Powerade, something with some electrolytes to put some salt and sugar back in your body. The electrolytes, of course, wear light, loose fitting clothing, take plenty of breaks in the shade or indoors, and of course, checking in on your people, just being neighborly. Sensitive groups of folks who not have adequate access to cooling relief, the elderly, children, if they're out and about running around. Again, we're almost at the end of school season or beginning of school season. Some schools still waiting to get back in. They might be out there running around just trying to enjoy the last couple of days of summer. Keep an eye on the kids if they are playing basketball, football, whatever. And of course, your pets as well. Make sure they have cold drinking water. Let's talk about the things of heat exhaustion, or the signs of heat exhaustion: feeling faint or dizzy. So when you start to feel that kind of woozy feeling, that's when you may have heat exhaustion. Another sign of that, excessive sweating. So you get to this point as you start to lose sugar, salt, as you excessively sweat during that time frame. Cool, pale, clammy skin. If you all of a sudden, it's 100 degrees outside, you start feeling chills, something's going on there. You're at the point of heat exhaustion. Rapid and weak pulse, so beating really rapidly, but it's not super strong when you feel for your pulse. Muscle cramps, and then nausea and vomiting will come along with that, again, with heat exhaustion. Heat stroke, a couple of different things that you will have to watch out for. You will have a pounding headache. If you're approaching heat stroke criteria, the sweat is all gone at that point. You're not sweating. When you get to a point to where you're not sweating, bad things are happening to your body at that point. A red and kind of dry skin type of situation, a rapid and strong pulse, and at that point, you need to be getting ready to call 911, or at least call 911 at that point. That's an emergency situation that you need to take care of. In this situation, got to get to that cool spot and, of course, start rehydrating, getting back into the acclimation process. Of course, stay up to date with the very latest anytime and everywhere on the Action News 5 First Alert Weather app. You can download it in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Keep in mind, we might still catch a quick downpour as we go through the course of the day today. But the better chances for rain will likely come by Thursday. That will be by way of a front that will drop in behind this ridge of high pressure, retreating back to the west of us. That front, again, may kick off a few isolated downpours today, tomorrow, but it gets a little closer to us on Thursday, and eventually behind it, drier air begins to filter in behind it, and that will take us into the weekend. So I tell you, the weekend looks fantastic from the standpoint if you've got plans to be out and about. Maybe you've got that last little bit of school shopping that you need to go do. Arkansas's tax-free weekend is this upcoming weekend. We've got things going on across the Mid-South, events-wise across the region. Get out and enjoy it, but understand it's not going to stick around for very long. Unfortunately, I got to tell you, give you a first alert, above average temperatures. This is the 8 to 14 day outlook. So now we're looking out into much of next week, and we're talking above average temperatures. And of course, a couple of things are going on next week. One of those things, the beginning of school for MSCS on Monday. A lot of the municipalities will go back between Wednesday and Thursday here in Shelby County. Highs will be in the mid-90s. Of course, leading up to the beginning of the FedEx St. Jude Championship. That happening next weekend, and there's going to be a lot of folks who are going to be dealing with the heat coming up here the next couple of days. So be prepared for the heat and humidity combination as we head through the coming days. Here's a look at our first alert for the next 10 days. Again, first alert weather days for today and Wednesday. 98 the forecast high. Feels like temperatures running between about 110 and 115 degrees. Okay, extreme heat here today. 105 to 110 on the feels like temperatures for your Wednesday. There's a better chance for rain and storms to emerge through the course of the day on Thursday. That will eventually usher in the drier air that takes us into the weekend. And like I said, you got to do tax-free shopping over in Arkansas on this weekend. You've got, maybe you just want to go out and enjoy some time over at Tom Lee Park or over at any of the area parks, Shelby Farms, whatever. Good way to get through that. Maybe take a jaunt out to Pickwick Lake to cool off and jump into the water. I think the weather great for us. But next week, of course, the heat does start to build once again, and you'll notice it, especially by the mid portion of the week as the municipalities get back into session. Bartlett on Thursday, as well as Arlington and up towards Lakeland. Those school districts are all getting back through the mid portion of next week. And again, the heat is definitely going to be part of the story.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Dietitians, boy, they play such an important role when it comes to helping people understand the connection between food and nutrition and how it can impact our lives. Let's bring in our friend, our clinical dietitian for Regional One Health. We got Quinay Johnson joining us once again on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Quinay, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well. Good morning, everyone. And nice to be back.
Yes. Always good to have you. So we know that there are a lot of processed foods, ultra-processed foods, and the way that they are processed affects how healthy they are or how unhealthy they are, I guess you should say. Can you explain the difference between processed foods, what that means, ultra-processed foods, and best practices to avoid them?
I like to think of processing as modification. So there's a scale when it comes to processed foods, and it can be subjective, but the things that are constant are minimally processed and ultra processed. Minimally processed or minimally altered food can be your apple, for an example. You pick it straight off the tree, that's as minimally processed as they can get, versus ultra processed foods. It can be like an applesauce that has corn syrup added to it to make it sweet and also has preservatives within it to make sure it lasts long on the shelf and doesn't make you sick, or apple juice with added sweeteners such as corn syrup.
That's good to know. That's a good distinction, Quinay. Thank you. And, food choices, it's so hard for so many people out there. I mean, price is obviously a factor for so many people out there because grocery store prices, as you know, I mean, they've gone through the roof over the last several years. How do we make good food choices? If you had to just kind of give people maybe 3 bullet points on how to make good food choices, what would you tell them?
I would say knowing how to read a food label and understanding ingredients within the list on the back of food can help you make better options to limit the amount of ultra processed ingredients you consume could be a great place to start. Two, making things more convenient for you. For an example, investing into buying frozen foods or still buying fresh foods and having tools at home to make sure that it's a quicker process for you to have food available so that you can make healthier options is number two. And then three, again, preparation is best, but having like fresh fruits and vegetables to snack on to make sure that you're getting a lot of vitamins and minerals as best as possible and not being enticed to buy fast food because you don't have any fresh fruit available at home is a third way to make healthier choices.
Where do people make the biggest mistakes, Quine, when it comes to shopping at grocery stores?
Ooh, that's a great question. I believe the biggest mistake that can happen is to just not be intentional when it comes to going grocery shopping. So if you set time out before going to make a list and checking the boxes as to making sure that you have fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, lean meats, grains, and whole grains, and things of that nature before you go into the grocery store, that can help alleviate some of the issues when it comes to making mistakes at the grocery store. And then also going to the grocery store hungry. Don't do it because you're always going to impulsively buy something versus getting the things that you need to maintain a healthy lifestyle.
Oh, yeah, I've made that mistake plenty of times, and then I come home and I'm like, what is all this stuff? So, okay, let's talk about suggestions, easy ways, friendly reminders to make it easier to eat healthier each and every day.
One great way to make things easier for yourself is to, again, make a grocery list before you go to the grocery store. Buy things that you're more motivated to eat at home that are still healthy. For an example, I love pineapples. Pineapples, I believe, are in season right now, or apples. And having foods that are less processed or have less ingredients in them to complement those things. So I'm allergic to peanut butter, so I don't do that, but I do sunflower butter. That's something that I could pair with apples, and that's a great snack to have. Also, I'm trying to think of another way. Oh, buying frozen foods. That can be a cheap and also affordable way to get vegetables and fruits in that aren't as processed as per se your canned foods that have added salt in them, or for fruit, canned fruits with corn syrup added into them.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Let's talk about just, final question, just a main point you want people to remember when it comes to sticking to a healthy diet and how it affects our health.
The biggest thing that I want to be taken away from this is preparation saves a lot of heartache. If you go into something intentionally and have a game plan, you're more likely to succeed or win the game versus just going in willy-nilly, no practice, trying to be Michael Jordan.
Quine Johnson has jokes on a Tuesday. Thank you, Quine. I appreciate that. We always appreciate what you do as a clinical dietitian at Regional One Health. Thanks again for joining us on the Digital Desk.
Thank you so much, and I'm hoping that everyone has a great day.
All right, good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. We're in the midst of summer and school's out and everyone's having a good time outdoors, having a lot of fun, whether it's in the pool or at summer camp perhaps. everyone's having a great time staying active. And certainly you want to make sure that your kids are not only having a great time and staying active, but also being nutritious and healthy when you can. Certainly, let's bring in someone that can help us navigate the nutritious landscape. I'm joined now on the Action News 5 digital desk by Dawn Jackson Blattner. She is someone who is a registered dietitian and a nutritionist, joining us on the digital desk to maybe come up with some creative ideas, tips, suggestions to make our summer healthier. Dawn, good morning to you. Tell us, where do we begin?
Oh my goodness. Well, the first stop is, listen, people are forgetting to fuel their fun out there. They're going to pickleball, they're bike riding, they're jump roping, and they're forgetting that all of that is sports. And you need the right sports nutrition to fuel all of that fun activity.
Let's hear it.
Okay, well, so if you think about it, there's probably 4 things that I like to incorporate in my fitnessy snacks. It's carbs for energy, protein for your muscles, electrolytes because you lose those in sweat, and hydration. So I'm always thinking about those 4 things with my snack. And I'll tell you, I have one favorite fitness food, and that is Natural Delights Medjool dates. And dates, here's why I love them. They are naturally energizing, and there's no added sugar. There's fiber, so it's this long, like natural energy that you feel. And then they're packed with potassium. So potassium is this electrolyte that is great for your muscles. It's great for hydration. And dates taste like caramel. So they are delicious in all of these snacks. So I have 3 snack ideas for you, okay? The first one is before you work out. It's something light but energizing. This is almond butter crunch dates. You take a date, put some almond butter in there, and a pretzel on top. The dates are naturally energizing. The almond butter gives you a pop of protein, and the pretzel gives you salt or sodium that you lose in your sweat. So 2 or 3 of these before you go do something active, awesome, so energizing. And then afterwards, your body needs sort of different nutrition there. It needs something like a caramel apple cottage cheese bowl. Cottage cheese packed with protein. And then I chop up the date, which tastes like caramel, put apple in there, a little granola butter. And this is replenishing and repairing a body that's just been super active. So I love that. Before, after, and now anytime you need a little boost, this is a date milk iced latte. So I take dates blended with my favorite milk, and then I put that with iced coffee. And I drink this like this, naturally sweet, naturally energizing. And you can put this latte into popsicle molds and have a real refreshing treat anytime.
You know, I always often thought, Dawn, that dates are some of the most underrated foods out there when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to sweetness. I don't understand why we don't eat more of them.
Well, I am so glad that we are here talking about it today because they honestly really are such an important food. That's why I have them in all of my snacks. Because you think about it, you want that energy, and so you can do it before a workout, but you also, after a workout, need to replenish all the energy that you put out there, and so they're great for afterwards as well. So I love the versatility.
Did you hear me? I'm sorry. I was going to say, what can we do to make our summer snacks and our summer meals healthier, Dawn?
Okay, I think the biggest thing to remember is you want to fuel before your fun. So everybody thinks about sunscreen. Yes, put it on. That's smart. But in addition to that, make sure you add the snack. That is your essential summer prep. And, it really is as simple and delicious as doing something like this, a little date with almond butter and a pretzel. Everybody could do it, and it changes the game when it comes to energy.
Fantastic. Okay, so you've mentioned a bunch of different meals, or not meals, but little different recipes, that
snack
sort of
attack.
thing.
This is our snack attack here.
Thank you. Where can we get these recipes? Because I'm curious about that.
Yes, so the food that I've been talking about this whole time, it's like, where do you get Natural Delights Medjool dates? Amazon. You can also check their store locator, which is on naturaldelights.com.
Naturaldelights.com. Okay, well, listen, we appreciate it. Dawn, thank you so much for these great summer nutrition tips. We could all use them. Dawn Jackson-Blattner joining us on the digital desk. Thank you. Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 digital desk. There is a new competition that is on NBC right now. It's called Destination X, and it is a bold travel competition. And a lot of those contestants are asking, where the X are we, among other things. And I want to learn more about this competition that began about a month ago on NBC. And joining me now on the Action News 5 digital desk, one of the contestants, Peter Weber, to talk more about this show and more about what viewers can expect. Peter, good morning to you. So tell me a little bit about what you're involved in. Good morning.
Yeah, no, this was truly just the adventure of a lifetime, the ultimate game board, being able to just have a guessing game of where in the X are you, like you said, and just an incredible opportunity to kind of put your skills to the test. You know, for me, I think specifically it was such an awesome opportunity to go into just with the nature of my career and being a pilot and the passion I have for travel. Being able to be a part of an experience like this was just the coolest thing I've ever done in my entire life. And I can't wait for everyone to watch the entire journey. Just so many awe moments, and it was truly special, and I'll never forget it.
So let me ask you this, Peter, because you know, on another network there is something called The Amazing Race, which is almost a travel competition as well. Get us into this competition. Is it similar? Is it different? What are the differences and perhaps the similarities?
It's very different. You know, what's crazy too, and I think a lot of the players, we're all looking really forward to rewatching this back, is we really only saw maybe, you know, 10, 15, 20% of the entire, what everyone's going to see. We saw such a limited portion, and it's, you know, depriving you of your senses. And that's what makes it such a unique show and something that's never been done before. You know, being able to see such limited things and never truly knowing if what you're seeing is accurate, if it's a red herring. That was just through a huge wrench and everything. It made it so much more difficult. Being able to trust people, and it has the whole gameplay aspect of, you know, betrayal, of alliances, of really just trusting your gut. And that could be a make or break for you, you know, either continuing on for the next week or going home. So I think that, you know, similarities, yeah, being able to travel the world and see a lot of incredible spots, but the competition aspect is brand new. It's never been done before. And it's just super unique, and it's just really just testing and an insane experience.
I know that you're limited on what you can say, but Peter, if you can you break down a little bit of the rules or how this competition is played out on TV?
Yeah, so essentially every week we're going to be traveling in a bus, and this bus is fogged out, so all the windows, you can't see outside. And so you're in close quarters, you're with your competition day in and day out, you're sleeping on the bus. And every city you get to, you're going to be partaking in certain challenges. And these challenges, if you win them, are going to be huge because they're going to offer you information to give you clues to understand possibly where you are. But again, those clues may not always be accurate. And so that's part of the fun of the game, is trying to really decipher what is true, what's not. The alliance building is huge in this game. And, you try to, at the end of every single week, you're going to be placing your X. You go to the map room if you're selected to go to the map room. And the person that has their X furthest away from the correct location of where you actually are in the world at that point, unfortunately gets sent home. And you try to make it to the very end for, a shot at the grand prize and the title. And just, the ultimate competition show. It's really cool. I think for the viewers too, they're going to be able to guess along too as well and truly play this game as if you were actually playing it in real life. But it's got everything. It's got the social aspect, the competitive aspect, the challenge aspect, and a lot of twists and turns, a little bit of luck, and just the most epically shot show I think I've ever seen.
What's the grand prize?
$250,000. So that's obviously an incredible amount of money. So that'd be incredible to win that. But I think even more than that, just the pride of being able to, season one, be able to win Destination X. That would be, I think that's the ultimate prize. But yeah, a big sum of money as well.
So tell our viewers how we can watch Destination X.
So Destination X is going to be airing on NBC on Tuesday nights, and then after that, it's going to be on Peacock, available for streaming. So yeah, be tuning in every Tuesday night, and after you can't catch that, you got it on Peacock.
Anything that surprised you that you're allowed to tell us with regards to this? You mentioned how many people are involved in this? Contestants?
So it started out with 10, and then I believe 2 have already been eliminated, and then Janae and we join in the next city that's coming up, do a little bit of a twist, throw like a wrench in the plans for I think everyone involved. So now we're back up to 10, and yeah, there can only be one winner at the end. Again, with that, it's very crucial to be working along with other people because you can't win it by yourself. And so that's also creates a really interesting dynamic too of, if you were to make it far in this game, of when do you split that? And there's obviously a lot of trust, but eventually the nature of the game, there has to be a little bit of betrayal too. So it's very lots of ups and downs and twists, and yeah, it's gonna be fun to watch.
Absolutely. Peter Weber, contestant on NBC's Destination X, a brand new reality competition that focuses on travel, and the grand prize, $250,000. You can see it on Tuesday nights on NBC and then Peacock streaming afterwards. Peter, thanks for coming on the Digital Desk. Best of luck to you in this competition. We appreciate your time. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. This month marks the 35th anniversary of the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act. It really was a defining moment to end discrimination against individuals with disabilities. But 35 years later, barriers still exist. I am joined now on the Action News 5 Digital Desk by the CEO of the Paralyzed Veterans of America, Carl Blake, joining me now to talk about some of these barriers that still exist and what the organization is doing to remove those barriers and how the public can help. Carl, good morning to you. Where do we begin on this topic? Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. So, so give me an update.
Yeah. So first, let me tell you about PVA. We've been around for about 80 years, and accessibility has been a core tenet of our mission since our founding. As you mentioned, the ADA was enacted 35 years ago, and yet, if you ask one of our members who experienced life before the ADA, they would tell you that amazing advancements have been made since the passage of the law, and that the world is a more accessible place. But the fact is, that's not really true. There are still far too many barriers that exist in everyday life that impact all manner of people with disabilities. And I think it's time that we get more people in the game to understand that they can influence change for the better.
So tell me about those barriers, Carl. I'm curious as to, what are some of those common barriers that paralyzed and disabled vets deal with today?
Yeah, so some of the barriers are things that might not even be obvious to the normal to a non-disabled person, like sidewalks and crosswalks that are accessible, curb cuts that make those spaces accessible. Our members experience challenges in just accessing restaurants, hotels, things that impact their ability to travel. They have problems in entertainment venues. New things that we've heard about more recently are challenges in accessing healthcare in their local communities. They find that local community clinics are just not accessible for their needs. A substantial number of our members have shared over the years the barriers that they face and that they continue to face every single day.
Tell me more about what the organization is planning to do to get more compliance for the ADA and where the public can help in all this, Carl.
Yeah, so we have a very active government relations program that is involved in policy making, in advocacy and legislation. They're particularly focused at the federal level. Our emphasis is on enforcement of the tenets of the ADA. The bottom line is that enforcement has been significantly lacking over the years. There's just not been the right kind of resources and the right people, or the necessary number of people to be involved in the enforcement of the ADA. And the truth is, a law with no substantial enforcement is no real law at all. So we do that work every day. But really, it's just as much important to understand that public education is a part of this process. We want the general public, we want policymakers, we want business owners to understand that they have a role in influencing change. If you go to our website, pva.org, you'll find a list of PSAs that showcase the various types of barriers that people with disabilities experience on a daily basis. We have an active petition that's out there right now that we would like everyone to sign that calls for greater enforcement of the ADA. And ultimately, what we want people to do is just be actively involved in making change for the better. Our mantra is effectively accessibility for all. That means that everyone has to have a stake in the game and be an active participant in making the world a more accessible place and knocking down the barriers that still exist.
Certainly awareness and education is part of the equation. Signing a petition to let people know that they should be actively involved, making sure to remove those barriers, as you said, Carl. Anything else that we can touch on? We have thousands of people who watch us each and every morning here.
Well, I would certainly encourage all of your listeners or your viewers to go to our website. There's a whole lot more information on pva.org, specifically pva.org/barriers still exist, where they can get information about how they can get involved. We're always looking for people to be part of our network because there's strength in numbers. And if the average the average person who does not have a disability gets involved, then that gets more people involved. It just sort of creates this network of influence that can ultimately make the change that we want to make.
Okay, Carl Blake, Paralyzed Veterans of America CEO, thank you for coming on the Digital Desk and explaining what the organization is doing to really kind of get more compliance for the Americans with Disabilities Act and how it has a profound effect on so many people across our country. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. More Americans than ever are expected to reach retirement age this year. And according to the latest Fidelity Investments State of Retirement Planning Study, many understandably are a little concerned about, in fact, pulling the trigger and retiring. Here to discuss what we need to know if we are looking at retirement this year or perhaps in the future, not too distant future. I'm joined now by Sham Gaglani. He is joining us on the digital desk. He is a retirement distributions leader at Fidelity. Sham, good morning to you. So what did a new study find about how today's retirees are planning for their retirement? Are they concerned? Are they worried that they need to get out of retirement and go back into the workforce? Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Most retirees are quite positive about their present financial situation, with over 70% saying retirement is going as planned, and even more say it's been more enjoyable than they expected. That said, our study also finds that some have been slightly caught off guard by the rising cost of living and high cost of healthcare.
I totally get that. Healthcare is certainly something that I hear all the time about people being concerned once they retire. If they are not 65, that gap between retirement and 65. So how are Americans planning retirement, and is it something that they may need to adjust, or is the planning just A-okay the way it's going right now?
Well, nearly 2/3 of respondents in their planning years have a positive outlook on their upcoming retirement. This is down 7% from last year, which is due in part to the impact of the rising cost of living. Gen X is at the forefront of this drop in confidence, with only 53% feeling like they'll be able to retire on their own terms. This comes as a record number of Americans are expected to reach traditional retirement age in 2025. So that lower confidence about retirement from Gen X can really be traced back to the fact that many are facing preparing for retirement, continuing to care for their children, and aging parents all at once.
Okay, so the natural question there, Sham, is how do you get more prepared? How do you get more confident to say, okay, I'm going to retire at this point in the next, 2, 3, 4, 5 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think most important is having a plan in place is crucial. It's also really important to stick with your plan. So our study found that 92% of Americans feel that financial planning doesn't end when retirement begins. So ideally, you should have a diversified income plan where essential expenses are covered by guaranteed income sources that keep up with the cost of, or with inflation. So we're talking about Social Security and annuities where you're turning part of your savings into a reliable income stream that you'll have throughout retirement. When it comes to discretionary expenses, you should really look to cover those from savings or investment income. So if you need to cut back, this is a place to do it, but you'll still be able to cover day-to-day living expenses. It's also very important to maintain a reasonable asset withdrawal rate. So we recommend targeting an average asset withdrawal rate between 4 and 5% a year. And finally, one of the largest expenses in retirement is healthcare, with a 65-year-old needing $165,000 to cover healthcare costs throughout retirement. It's important for a pre-retiree to have a plan that accounts for how they'll cover future healthcare expenses. So understanding your Medicare strategy and potential expenses related to long-term care can really help gain an understanding of additional healthcare costs that you'll look to include and need to include in your retirement income plan.
So, Sham, let me press a little bit on that. I mean, what are you telling your customers? What are you telling the people that you deal with, when it comes to healthcare costs and planning for retirement?
I think one of the most important things for anyone at any stage of planning to keep in mind is the sooner you start saving, the better off that you'll be. So take advantage of time. The more you save and the sooner you save, the better off you'll be when it comes time to put a retirement plan together and be able to fund the retirement that you want to have and retire when you're ready to retire.
Anything else we want to mention about retirement and how things have changed? It sounds like the formula for the most part is essentially the same. I mean, diversify investments, that sort of thing. Anything else that we can talk about with regards to retirement now?
Well, there are definitely some differences between today's retirees and retirees that are coming up. One distinct difference between the groups is today's retirees are the last to report in large numbers that predictable income sources like pensions are going to be the primary way that they'll fund their retirement. Whereas 6 in 10 Americans in their planning years say the biggest income streams that they'll have will come from their IRAs and 401ks or other workplace plans. So only about half of retirees are saying the same thing about their IRAs and workplace plans today. I think the good news here is recent Fidelity data shows retirement savers are building good habits and they're saving in IRAs and workplace plans at a rate that's close to Fidelity's recommended 15% per year.
Okay, Sham Gaglani, we appreciate you and everybody at Fidelity Investments for helping us out with this conversation. Thank you. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I want to tell you about a new procedure that St. Francis Hospital is doing. It's called an endoscopic sinus procedure. And you know, here in Memphis in the Mid-South, allergies are a big deal. Sinuses, certainly people suffer from. And so this procedure really helps people that are dealing with major sinus and allergy problems. Let's bring in one of the doctors that performs this procedure, Dr. Grant Muller. He's an ENT oncology surgeon at St. Francis Bartlett. And Grant, I understand that this procedure is not a surgery. This is a minimally invasive procedure from what I understand. Tell me more about it. And I appreciate you joining on the digital desk. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Andrew. Yes, so this is a surgery that's primarily offered at St. Francis Bartlett. I am a head and neck cancer surgeon that's employed through the West Cancer Center, but and operating out of St. Francis Bartlett. And so this is a surgery, and like you said, it is minimally invasive. Everything is done through the nose. There's no cuts on the outside of the face or anything, and I use very high-powered, high magnification endoscopes to go through and open up the sinuses to treat sinus disease. But while we've been doing sinus surgery for many years, the thing that we're offering now is something called sinus navigation that I use in the operating room. And so what happens is I'm able to get a very high resolution CAT scan of the sinuses. And that helps tell me exactly the sinuses that I need to operate on to open them to help treat a number of things like chronic sinus disease, growths in the sinuses, or any issues with the skull base. And so when I'm in the operating room, I actually put the CAT scan right next to the screen that my cameras are looking at. And in real time, my instruments are tracking across the CAT scan to show me exactly where I am. And in doing so, I'm able to improve my visualization. I'm able to see behind areas of bone or tissue that I wouldn't normally be able to see behind with my camera. It keeps me safe. It keeps me away from the really critical structures that are in the area, such as the eye, such as the base of the skull where the brain is, the carotid artery, the main artery that supplies the brain, and helps me ensure that I'm clearing out all the areas of the disease effectively, really to give the patients the best outcome afterwards.
My understanding, Grant, is that you kind of use GPS technology for this. Tell me a little bit about that, and what kind of patient is the kind of patient that would be suitable for this type of procedure?
Yeah, absolutely. GPS is a great analogy because like you're driving down to the beach or something, you're watching your little blue dot go on the map and track yourself. My instruments are being tracked along the CT scan, so I know exactly where I am at all times. The sinus registers within a millimeter of where I am. So there's very little room for discrepancy. So it really does keep you safe, and the data and the literature really supports that. As far as the patient that is perfect for the surgery, overall, the main type of people are patients that have chronic sinus disease, which, as you kind of alluded to, is a real issue down here in the Mid-South with all of the pollen and allergies that we experience. And ideally, it's a patient that has tried what we call adequate medical therapy, things like topical nasal steroids such as Flonase, or sinus rinses such as a neti pot or Navage, and they're still just having symptoms despite all these different medications. And so then we go in and these patients become surgical candidates, and we open up those sinuses to really widen what's called their natural drainage pathways to help them drain the kind of purulent, the pus and mucus that gets trapped in the sinuses, and also provides a way for us to really deliver those medications more directly to the sinuses to really get them a relief.
Does insurance pay for something like this? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So insurances do cover this. This is something where if insurance will cover it if you've tried medical therapy. Generally, a medical therapy is a trial of about 3 to 4 weeks. And if you are still having symptoms after about 3 to 4 weeks, then you would be a good candidate for a sinus surgery. It's really an incentive for insurances to pay for this, because chronic sinus disease is such a burden on the healthcare system. There's about $60 billion annually spent on chronic sinus disease. And so it really does fill up our urgent cares, our emergency rooms, and patients that actually do have surgery sooner have less healthcare utilization. They're having less prescriptions. They're having less procedures overall. So it is actually within their financial interest as well to cover this.
So if someone's interested in this, because it sounds interesting, it sounds new, cutting edge, groundbreaking, Grant, how do people find out more about this?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'm employed primarily through the West Cancer Center. Much of my interest is in head and neck cancer surgery and reconstructive surgery, but I am an ear, nose, and throat doctor by training. And so I do general ear, nose, and throat surgery as well. So if a patient is interested and wants to see me for a consultation, I am at the Wolf River campus for West Cancer Center twice a week, and I'm happy to see patients here that can be scheduled through our website or by contacting the West Cancer Center.
Okay, and if someone wants to know about this specific thing, can they go to St. Francis Bartlett or St. Francis's website? I mean, is there stuff online?
Not that I'm aware of. So right now, this is something that we're still getting off the board. That is certainly something that we're working towards, is getting that information readily available to patients. There's, of course, an abundance of information available online as long as you're looking at the correct sources. But I'm also happy to talk to patients extensively about kind of the advantages of this type of surgery.
Okay, great. Well, listen, Dr. Grant Muller, we really appreciate your time on the digital desk and this information about this new endoscopic sinus procedure. It sounds like it could give relief to so many Mid-Southerners out there. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Andrew. Have a good day.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 digital desk here on a Tuesday. An extreme heat warning still in effect across the entire Action News 5 coverage area. I think that extreme heat, though, 110 plus on the feels like temperatures, likely across much of West Tennessee, eastern Arkansas, northwest Mississippi. Still a significant issue of heat stress expected across eastern West Tennessee and northeastern Mississippi. But at any rate, this heat wave, again, really surging here today. 96 to 99 on the actual air temperatures, but feels like temperatures between 108 and 115. Take those hot weather precautions as we go through the course of the day. Actual air temperature high 98 here today. Sun passing clouds, maybe a downpour in a few instances, a light north wind, and typically a north wind force would be a cooler wind. It's just not the case. It's coming on the eastern flank of this ridge of high pressure that is working its way back westward. But excessive heat expected here as we go through the course of the day. Heat stress, let's talk about this. This is taking all elements, say the sun's radiation, the temperature, the humidity, the wind, all of this. This is what we call wet bulb globe temperature. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it doesn't correlate necessarily with heat index. So let's just break it down into terms that you can understand. What is the heat stress to my body during the course of this time? 10 a.m. this morning, we're looking at high heat stress, advancing into the dangerous category. It becomes extreme. And this is at this point that all outdoor activity, whether it be, construction work, roadway work, band practice, football practice, should stop. But I understand, things can't just stop, especially in the professional world. Things can't just stop. So at this point, you've got to take those extra precautions to stay alert to the heat. And guess what? It's probably going to be like that, if not get a little worse through the course of the late afternoon, early evening hours. By 5 o'clock, we start to come out of it. And it's going to take until 10 o'clock this evening before we start to drop back down below even the elevated category of heat stress. I mean, even early this morning when we came in here to Action News 5 very early this morning, we saw a heat index almost 100 degrees here in Midtown. I think that this will be a common trait even tomorrow as well. Again, you get closer to 10, 11, noontime. Dangerous to extreme heat stress yet again for your Wednesday afternoon. And we'll do the whole process over again. It takes until about 5 o'clock before we come out of that extreme heat and still high heat stress through about 9, 10 o'clock in the evening. Of course, with that being said, again, drink plenty of hydrating fluids, alternating between water as well as Gatorade or Powerade, something with some electrolytes to put some salt and sugar back in your body. The electrolytes, of course, wear light, loose fitting clothing, take plenty of breaks in the shade or indoors, and of course, checking in on your people, just being neighborly. Sensitive groups of folks who not have adequate access to cooling relief, the elderly, children, if they're out and about running around. Again, we're almost at the end of school season or beginning of school season. Some schools still waiting to get back in. They might be out there running around just trying to enjoy the last couple of days of summer. Keep an eye on the kids if they are playing basketball, football, whatever. And of course, your pets as well. Make sure they have cold drinking water. Let's talk about the things of heat exhaustion or the signs of heat exhaustion, feeling faint or dizzy. So when you start to feel that kind of woozy feeling, that's when you may have heat exhaustion. Another sign of that, excessive sweating. So you get to this point as you start to lose sugar, salt, as you excessively sweat during that time frame. Cool, pale, clammy skin. If you all of a sudden, it's 100 degrees outside, you start feeling chills, something's going on there. You're at the point of heat exhaustion. Rapid and weak pulse, so beating really rapidly, but it's not super strong when you feel for your pulse. Muscle cramps and then nausea and vomiting will come along with that, again, with heat exhaustion. Heat stroke, a couple of different things that you will have to watch out for. You will have a pounding headache. If you're approaching heat stroke criteria, the sweat is all gone at that point. You're not sweating. When you get to a point to where you're not sweating, bad things are happening to your body at that point. A red and kind of dry skin type of situation, a rapid and strong pulse, and at that point, you need to be getting ready to call 911 or at least call 911 at that point. That's an emergency situation that you need to take care of. In this situation, got to get to that cool spot and, of course, start rehydrating, getting back into the acclimation process. Of course, stay up to date with the very latest anytime and everywhere on the Action News 5 First Alert weather app. You can download it in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Keep in mind, we might still catch a quick downpour as we go through the course of the day today. But the better chances for rain will likely come by Thursday. That will be by way of a front that will drop in behind this ridge of high pressure, retreating back to the west of us. That front, again, may kick off a few isolated downpours today, tomorrow, but it gets a little closer to us on Thursday, and eventually behind it, drier air begins to filter in behind it, and that will take us into the weekend. So I tell you, the weekend looks fantastic from the standpoint if you've got plans to be out and about. Maybe you've got that last little bit of school shopping that you need to go do. Arkansas's tax-free weekend is this upcoming weekend. We've got things going on across the Mid-South, events-wise across the region. Get out and enjoy it, but understand it's not going to stick around for very long. Unfortunately, I got to tell you, give you a first alert, above average temperatures. This is the 8 to 14 day outlook. So now we're looking out into much of next week, and we're talking above average temperatures. And of course, a couple of things are going on next week. One of those things, the beginning of school for MSCS on Monday. A lot of the municipalities will go back between Wednesday and Thursday here in Shelby County. Highs will be in the mid-90s. Of course, leading up to the beginning of the FedEx St. Jude Championship. That happening next weekend, and there's going to be a lot of folks who are going to be dealing with the heat coming up here the next couple of days. So be prepared for the heat and humidity combination as we head through the coming days. Here's a look at our first alert for the next 10 days. Again, first alert weather days for today and Wednesday. 98 the forecast high. Feels like temperatures running between about 110 and 115 degrees. Okay, extreme heat here today. 105 to 110 on the feels like temperatures for your Wednesday. There's a better chance for rain and storms to emerge through the course of the day on Thursday. That will eventually usher in the drier air that takes us into the weekend. And like I said, you got to do tax-free shopping over in Arkansas on this weekend. You've got, maybe you just want to go out and enjoy some time over at Tom Lee Park or over at any of the area parks, Shelby Farms, whatever. Good way to get through that. Maybe take a John out to Pickwick Lake to cool off and jump into the water. I think the weather great for us. But next week, of course, the heat does start to build once again, and you'll notice it, especially by the mid portion of the week as the municipalities get back into session. Bartlett on Thursday, as well as Arlington and up towards Lakeland. Those school districts are all getting back through the mid portion of next week. And again, the heat is definitely going to be part of the story.
In the summer months, those hot, humid, warm temperatures, they bring out all kinds of critters. We're talking about bugs, some nasty ones there. You got the mosquitoes, you got ticks, you got spiders, and all kinds of different things. What are the best methods to protect yourself from the bugs that we see across Memphis and the Mid-South this summer? Let's bring in someone in the know. We got Dr. Anna Yang joining us once again on the Action News 5 digital desk. She is a physician at Regional 1 Hospital. And Dr. Yang, there are so many critters just crawling around all over the place, and some are obviously more dangerous than others. What are some of the best methods to escape a bug bite this summer? Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me back. Yes, the spring and the summer definitely bring back the critters in full force. There's a lot of different ones out there right now. I mean, the best thing you can do is to make sure you protect yourself. There's a lot of different types of insect repellent out there to put on, and make sure, the clothing that you have will also help protect against bug bites, especially if you're going to be, messing around places where bugs like to hide. For the most part, bugs aren't there trying to bite you. They're trying to avoid you for the most part. So, try to avoid places where you might disturb bugs that are resting, and make sure you wear protective clothing, bug spray. And a lot of bugs also tend to be more active in the dawn and dusk time periods. So, generally being more careful during those times is important.
Yeah, good advice there, Dr. Yang. What about here in the Mid-South and what you see in your practice? What are the bug bites that really cause people a lot of problems?
So most bug bites are no big deal. Some bug bites you don't even feel happening and they don't do anything. Maybe they're a little bit itchy, maybe they hurt a little bit, but most bug bites are not a problem at all. Some bug bites, like mosquitoes and ticks, they can transmit illnesses. So we do have to be a little bit more careful with them. So, there are a couple of cases of West Nile virus so far this year here in Tennessee. So you do have to watch out for that. So most bugs, though, don't really cause anything. Tick bites as well. In this area, there's not very much Lyme disease. It's not impossible, but there's not very much of it. We do have Rocky Mountain spotted fever here too, though. So if you do, go in areas and wooded places like that may have ticks, make sure you check yourself afterwards, check your family members, check your pets. And if you see any ticks, make sure you try to remove them early. And as far as, other things like stinging insects like wasps and bees and things like that, most of the time, again, these are just, painful stings. Make sure you get the stinger out, wash it. If you need some topical medications just to kind of help the local reaction, that's totally fine. But, if you have any systemic symptoms, allergic reaction type symptoms, or you're having trouble breathing, back of your throat or your tongue or your mouth is swelling, or you get a rash all over your body, make sure you get medical care for things like that quickly.
I know spiders are an issue, certainly, and the brown recluse is one of those that people need to watch for here in Memphis in the Mid-South. Can you explain a little bit to our audience some of the issues with the brown recluse?
Sure. So the two venomous spiders that we have here in Tennessee, those are the brown recluse and the black widow. Both spiders are pretty easy to spot, and the good news is they don't want to bite you. They like to hide in places, dark places that are undisturbed, basements underneath, rocks and debris and things like that. So for the most part, you won't encounter them. But if you are, rummaging through areas that haven't been disturbed in a while, digging under things or pulling up rocks and things like that, then you definitely do need to be especially careful for these two things. The brown recluse spider, there is no anti-venom for. Most of the time, these also do fine, but they can cause some localized tissue destruction and necrosis. So the most important thing for these is wound care, keeping an eye on them, making sure they don't get infected. And if they are really painful, or they're getting worse, or they're, changing or getting deeper or turning dark inside, or, something doesn't look right or feel right about it, then definitely go get checked out. But even these, most of the time, do fine.
Where do people make their biggest mistakes when it comes to, bugs, bug bites, trying to prevent it, but as a result, they don't?
So I don't really have anything specific for that. Most people actually do a pretty good job of protecting themselves. The most important thing is just to remember that they are out there, and use some common sense and put that bug spray on, and not reach for things that you haven't at least looked at first, or forget to protect yourself. Gloves, making sure you're wearing good protective shoes and clothing. But as long as you keep those things in mind, you really can avoid most of the dangers from bugs and insects out there.
If people don't want to put DEET in terms of bug spray on themselves, what do you recommend as a safe alternative to DEET?
Yeah, there are a lot of different insect repellents out there that don't contain DEET. So, take a look at all the options out there. There are some things that contain more natural chemicals and things like that that don't contain DEET that are still effective in preventing bugs from getting to you.
Okay, do you recommend any? I know that, lemon eucalyptus, picaridin, some others, right?
Yep, there are those for sure. They have those, bracelets out there that contain some, natural type chemicals and, fragrances and stuff like that that tend to keep away bugs. But yes, all those things you mentioned are definitely reasonable alternatives to try.
Okay, Dr. Annie Yang, appreciate you coming on the digital desk to help us all just kind of avoid some of those nasty bugs out there, some ugly bugs, if you will, on the this summer here in Memphis and the Mid-South. We appreciate your time as always. Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 digital desk. Mental health, it remains a top concern for so many people, including post 9/11 veterans. In fact, more than 6 in 10 warriors registered with the Wounded Warrior Project report living with mental health conditions like PTSD, anxiety, or depression. But mental health isn't about veterans or a military issue. This is a human issue, and men oftentimes are less likely to receive any kind of mental health treatment than women in the past year. That's according to the National Institutes of Health. Joining me now on the Action News 5 digital desk, I have the pleasure of talking to two men here. One NFL defensive end, Morgan Fox, and his father, Joe Fox, an Army veteran and a Project Odyssey regional director for the Wounded Warrior Project. Gentlemen, good morning to you both. First off, Joe, let me start with you and tell me about the mental health challenges that veterans face when they return to civilian life. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Warriors can face a host of challenges when they return to civilian life. Something like post-traumatic stress disorder, isolation, being loss of identity, loss of purpose, anxiety, and depression are just some to name a few.
Got it. I totally get that. Morgan, over to you. First off, tell me what it was like growing up in a military family and some of the challenges that you saw from your perspective. And then, you're an NFL star. You're in the NFL. I'm sure you see mental health as an issue where you are as well. Is that right?
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think Warriors and football players, athletes in general, we all kind of share some commonalities when it comes to mental health. Growing up as a military kid, you're exposed to it a little early. Watching your parent come home from a year-long deployment a little different than they were when they left. And as a kid, you don't really understand it. And then the older you get, you understand that there is some trauma and some things that happened and some things that they need to go step out and get help for. You do see the same thing with athletes and with football players is when things are done or even when things are going on, you have these mental crises that you kind of need to have help with, and that you've been told your whole life to be really tough and handle it yourself, and then you get to a point where you realize you do need help, and that's the hardest step you can take.
Morgan, thank you. Joe, back over to you. I know I'm very familiar with the Wounded Warrior Project. It's such an outstanding organization. Their mission statement is amazing. Tell us, for our audience, because we have thousands of people who watch us each and every morning, about how the Wounded Warrior Project helps veterans with their mental health.
Yeah, so the mission of Wounded Warrior Project is to simply honor and empower our warriors. And so this is done through a host of programs and a host of opportunities for the warriors to connect. One of these opportunities, especially in the mental health area, is Project Odyssey. And so Project Odyssey is a 12-week program that is launched by a 5-day in-person workshop that really helps improve your resiliency and psychological well-being. And it does this by allowing us to learn positive coping skills to be able to help influence those decisions and those feelings and emotions that we're dealing with when we deal with post-traumatic stress, military sexual trauma, or a traumatic brain injury.
Joe, we just want to follow up real quickly because I know that the NFL is in partnership with the Wounded Warrior Project. Tell me about this partnership and how it will work going into the upcoming football season.
Yeah, so Wounded Warrior Project is very lucky to have a partner like the NFL that has such outreach and such ability to bring attention to not only our veteran community, but to something as important as mental health. And so they do this through a host of ways, but one in particular is their Salute to Service program. That Salute to Service program allows players like Morgan to be able to extend their own personal reach, to be able to show how they can also offer some support. The support and the resources that we get from players like Morgan and from the NFL allow us to put these mental health programs on, be able to provide other programming as well that is totally free for the Warriors and the veterans and family support members that are a part of Wounded Warrior Project.
Morgan, back over to you. I understand you recently attended a Wounded Warrior Project event on mental health. What did you take away from that experience, and what can other men take away from that experience? Morgan?
Being at the Project Odyssey was incredible. I got to watch a lot of veterans who didn't know each other come from across the country really come together and learn how to cope with their whatever issues that they're going through. And the first thing I saw was that a lot of them realized that you're not alone, and that's one of the biggest things I took from it is just because you feel isolated or you feel like you're by yourself, you're really not. You're not alone. There's someone going through it the same way you are, and to be able to have that 5-10 minute conversation and learn these coping tools and learn how to dig yourself out of a hole is something that I really took from it. And then I just think at the end of the day, we men will look at, trying to be tough, trying to be macho, trying to be, carry these loads by yourself and not burden anyone else with it. And then at the end of the day, you got to just take that really hard first step of just asking. Just go ask for help. Go find someone, go find a professional or a friend that whether they can help identify the problem or just be a big listening post for you to come in and vent, and hopefully that starts a really good chain reaction to help you further in life.
Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. The kids are out for school. You got summer season upon us, and why not take a trip somewhere? And one of the most affordable ways is perhaps going camping around your area, or maybe taking a road trip and going camping. It has become more popular than ever. In fact, 1 of 4 leisure trips out there now includes camping. Let's talk more about this idea of camping across our region and really across the country right now. I'm joined on the Action News 5 Digital Desk by Senior Vice President of Marketing for Campgrounds of America, KOA, Diane Eichler, joining us on the Digital Desk to talk about camping. So, Diane, let's talk about this. It feels like a resurgence of camping out there across the country. But for me and my family, we've always enjoyed camping. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So tell me about this this popularity that we are seeing in camping all across the country.
Yeah, camping has always historically been a really great summer activity, but over the last 5 or 6 years, we have welcomed over 11 million new campers to camping. So we at KOA are super excited to open up our peak season and welcome all of our campers, old and new, out into the great outdoors again this year.
Yeah, so tell me more about it, because I saw this stat where it said 1 in 4 of those trips, you know, people pick business or pleasure or leisure, and 1 of 4 of those leisure trips involve camping in some form or fashion. And we're talking about all kinds of camping, the RV type or the tents, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, you know, camping has grown. We have a lot of different accommodations that we offer at KOA. And to your point, we've got so many different demographics that are coming out to camp. It can be retirees, it can be Gen Zs who are historically traveling with their larger friend groups. We've got millennial families who are bringing kiddos in tows. We welcome pets. 50% of our campers camp with pets. So we have a really great curated Camp Canine program that welcomes our furry family members as well. And we have accommodations for all types of campers. If you're traveling in an RV, we've got great pull-through sites that have hookups and patios. We've got opportunities for tent campers. We've got glamping opportunities, which is one of my favorite ways to camp with our deluxe cabin product. You can come in, pack a suitcase, you don't need a lot of gear, and walk into a cabin that has a couple of bedrooms, a bathroom, a kitchenette, and it's like having a hotel room in the great outdoors. So lots of different types of campers and lots of different accommodations that are available for our campers out in our great KOA system.
That sounds great. I mean, you got all kinds of different types of camping, from the very serious, I would say, to some that are glamping, as you mentioned. I'm curious about that to try and convince my wife. I'm an Eagle Scout, so I'm used to camping in the outdoors. So is my son. But to do a glamping, describe that once again. Is that probably isn't available at every KOA campground out there, but certainly, in fact, there's one near our area here in Marion, Arkansas. But I'm curious about the glamping, the cabin type feels. Tell me more.
Yeah, well, glamping has actually taken off in the last couple years. And so we have, as part of our glamping product, we've got deluxe cabins. At certain other campgrounds, we'll have yurts and tree houses and silos and what we consider unique accommodations. So it's not just a one-stop shop of one type of product, but there's lots of different variety, and each one of those unique glamping opportunities is often signature to space and place. So what you're going to have in potentially Tennessee might be very different than what you would find at one of our campgrounds in California. So that's one of the great things about KOA, is that none of them are the same. We're all unique and we all have different signature opportunities at each campground.
Fantastic, Diane. Finally, if someone wants to maybe kind of look at this as perhaps a summer vacation for the family, where can they go online to do that?
Of course, visit us at KOA.com. And while you're there, I encourage everyone to hop on over to our blog. We've got lots of tips and tricks, tons of recipes, and lots of guides for you to help you get outdoors this summer in a really hassle-free and fun way.
That sounds great. Okay, that does it for us here in the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Have yourself a wonderful afternoon. We got Action News 5 midday coming up at the top of the hour. Ariana Poindexter, Jerry Askin will take you through the next hour with all your news headlines and, of course, your forecast. And then join me bright and early tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock for another edition of the Digital Desk. We go from 7 until 11 each and every weekday morning here on Action News 5. Take care.